Let's get to humping. Happy hump day, everybody. Good to be here. Good to be seen. Felt like it was just yesterday I talked to all of you. And that's probably because it was just yesterday that I talked to all of you. Thanks for those of you who hung out with us last night. Had a good time. Probably like one of my favorite nights of debates in terms of like actually having debates, actually getting into something. Shout out to Rolo
Thanks for the sub.
for coming in and saving the day once again. Hold on, Jen. I don't know what to tell you. I keep sharing the outline with you. I removed your access and then sent it again, and it's not coming through. Sorry, guys. It's Google. Maybe this is China. Maybe this is retaliatory. I don't know why. I mean, China's probably happy with me after yesterday showing all their new technology. Hell, I'm starting to think China's not such a bad idea. Go on over there. Copy the link. I can do that, Jen. Let's see. Let me drop it in the chat there. So I don't know. Maybe China's messing with us. Maybe the FBI's listening. Anyways, last night, good bunch of debates. Rolo came in. Rolo kind of saved the day as far as what's interesting is one, Rolo knows a lot more about this stuff than I do, and he can specifically cite law. So I think that helps a lot. But it is amazing how quickly somebody will be quiet once they know that the person they're talking to is an expert. And I thought we got a lot accomplished last night. I think most people are on the same page. I think most people agree that they like or at least Republicans, they like the idea of what Trump's doing, but when you actually talk about the things that he is doing and the implications and how it's going to play out, suddenly they don't like it so much. And I think that's one by one, day by day, like these people are just going to be picked off every single day, and they're learning in real time that this administration is willing to strip away human rights, to jail people who are not guilty without due process, to fuck over industry after industry after industry. I think that this sucks, but I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I'm an optimist by nature. I think it's a part of just like kind of how I don't know, when you growing up the way that I grew up, like when you don't really have any real identity, you just learn to like be optimistic for no reason. And so I think a little bit of that's ingrained in me. I don't like being sad. I hate anxiety, and by nature, I want to figure things out, especially if they mean something to me. And so I've learned to do that. I will say this though, Trump being this deranged and this insane, I do think is going to speed up the time that it is taking Americans to realize there's some things that we need. There's some things that other countries do much better than us that we could follow suit. There are countries who are far more peaceful, who are far more accepting, who take care of their poor and their elderly much better than we do, and educate their population and prepare their population for life much better than we do. When you look at Freedom Index, when you talk about like real freedom, not like the freedom to just drop slurs, which is oftentimes what I think some people think freedom is, but real freedom, economic freedom, freedom to be healthy, freedom to take vacations, freedom to raise your children. When you count all those factors in, America does an extremely bad job of taking care of its citizenry. And what we're seeing right now with the Trump administration is him saying, I'm doing this for America. But the reality is, even if Trump wins this trade war, let's say he wins it, most of your lives will not get better. This doesn't make things better. Having more trade, having more manufacturing jobs doesn't make anything better. Having more things bought in the United States, it doesn't make things better. Oftentimes it's going to make things worse. As we slap these tariffs on American goods that none of us want to buy. Like, you buy a Ford Fusion because it's cheap. That's why you buy a Ford Fusion. You buy a Ford Fusion because it doesn't hold its resale value. So if you're somebody who buys a car or is buying a used car, you don't buy new cars, you might look at a Ford, you might look at a Chevy, you might look at a GMC, you might look at a Buick. I live in Arizona. Like, I wanted a Pathfinder for a lot of years. I know they're great cars. They're great for. I used to do a lot of fishing. I used to go north of here before I had a kid, and I was on a lot of back roads. And I had an old Nissan truck, and just the suspension wasn't that great, and those roads beat it up. But my friends with Toyotas had 200,000 miles on it, and it was still going. You go get yourself a Toyota with 200,000 miles, and it's still like the value of it maintains. So you lose less money. It does us no good to make an inferior product here just so that we can say it's made in America. And I think that coming to that realization through these trade wars, I think as people slowly understand like what a benefit it is for us, that's going to allow us to do a lot of things. And I think that at the end of the MAGA movement, however much longer this shit lasts, at the end of that, the MAGA folks are going to be exhausted. All of us are going to be exhausted. And we're all just going to, I think people are just going to recognize like, hey, maybe we don't have such a chance economy. Maybe we shouldn't have such a chance lottery type economy. Maybe it should just be a little more fair. Maybe it should be a little more balanced. Maybe there should be a little more equity. I don't know. But that's the optimist in me. And now that I've said that, I'm gonna tell everybody why everything fucking sucks. So that was my attempt to soften the blow because it's not going to be not going to be a great day. I did like this though. Credit to where credit's due. This was on Twitter from Wu-Tang is for the children. I don't know if they made it or not with AI, but oh no, it's drive green, live green. I just thought that was funny, so I put that up there. I wanted you guys to see that. So George Santos is a fucking lunatic. This is George Santos' podcast, which, by the way, before we rip on George Santos, he built one hell of a set. And he threw together one hell of an outfit here. And George Santos is an absolute lunatic, and he's spiraling. But he had Destiny on his podcast, which is called might be called WTF. That might be the name of the podcast. I don't know who his co-host is here, but listen to George Santos.
Donald Trump can go on Fifth Avenue right now and shoot someone, and it would not change my support for him because I would probably find it justifiable. God. Yes. I am okay with that.
Said that on this podcast. You should not.
That's his co-host and his producer. Hey, bro, you should not say that out loud.
No, it's insane, but I'm just trying.
So you realize how indoctrinated you must be?
It's not indoctrination.
Your brain is fried. Do you hear what you just said? He could go and shoot somebody.
Yes,
he's not God. He's not Buddha, Jesus, any of our other higher powers. That
I bring I have questions in mind when I'm arguing with Trump supporters, and one of the questions that I have, it's too late now because one of my questions is what's the line for you? Because I feel like every time
it's not racism. It's not being a.
Did you hear Santos before she went off there? He said there is no line. There is no line. And I do think that for a lot of Trump supporters, honestly, there isn't. And he was honest. He's like, I would find a way to justify what he did. Can you guys hear me? Just tell me I'm disconnected. Sorry, Jen, let me jump in the VC. Jen, did it disconnect everywhere? It says I'm back now. We're back?
It looks good for me.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Sorry about that. But that's you can be a criminal. You could be a horrific person. You can be Andrew Tate. You can be George Santos. You can be that stupid actor, Russell Brand. You can be a horrific person and have a place in MAGA land so long as you pledge your undying love for Donald Trump. And so it creates it creates this vacuum, this Trump culture. I don't even know what the fuck to call it. But basically, people just want to hear that Trump is great. And so they can look at these people and they be like, yeah, I don't like anything they say, but they recognize that this guy's great. Not stopping for 1 second to think maybe they're just using you. Maybe they just recognize that if they say Trump is great, that they still have a future. And that's what George Santos is actually saying here. There is no line. George Santos cannot explain why Trump is great. This is a very dumb person who was elected to Congress by the dumbest party in the history of our country. Strictly, because of his love for Donald Trump and his willingness to go along with crazy things like elections being stolen, tariffing the fuck out of all of our closest allies. George Santos recognizes that. And you need to remember, as you look at all these grifters, they will be the last to fall. Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, George Santos, Tim Pool, all of these folks will be the very last ones to fall. And then when they fall, they won't go down. They will just pivot. And they will try and latch on to the next person or the next thing that will bring them in viewers. In many ways, Trump is exposing media bias. In many ways, he's exposing the deep state. And for years, we've been arguing back and forth with Republicans. No, the bias is on your side. No, the bias is on your side. No, your media is controlled. No, your media is controlled. And what we're finding out right now is maybe that's true on both sides. But when real things are happening, we're having news anchors, news organizations having a very difficult time in some cases calling balls and strikes. And so if you're a Fox News viewer, if you're sitting there turning into Fox every day, every hour you're going to get a little bit different view. That you're going to have somebody that's like, no, this is terrible, and then the next person like, no, this is great. Even Fox News can't keep it together right now. It's a disaster on all levels, and it's only getting weirder. But I want to show you somebody else who is never going to go down. That's Tim Burchett. I'm 100% convinced that Tim Burchett must, I don't know much about his district. He must be from a district where all that matters is saying, I love Trump. Here he is with Benny Johnson and spouting a new conspiracy theory with about as much evidence as you'd expect from somebody claiming this conspiracy.
You're on the Doge subcommittee. You just said that there might be some corruption inside of the government rentals of empty buildings, members of Congress owning those buildings, outright corruption. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, saying today to Chuck Schumer, I'm starting to think that you're getting a piece of the action with all the government fraud. That couldn't possibly be true, could it? Congressman, you must know something about this. Has Elon discovered something about Chuck Schumer?
Again, I'm just going to keep pointing this out every day. Benny Johnson, probably very few people are noticing this because you guys don't have a job that requires you to watch a lot of Benny Johnson, which unfortunately I do. But Benny Johnson has changed his whole delivery, his tone. He's dropped his voice, his cadence. He is legitimately just doing a Tucker Carlson impression. And Benny Johnson's a guy who just wanted to be an actor. Most right-wing, like big right-wing content creators, they tried to be actors and they failed. But he is just he's just trying to be Tucker Carlson now, which is bizarre. Somebody asked what size fitted hat I wear. I don't know. I have a weird shaped head. I have a small head. And so it's like anywhere between a 7 1/8, 7 1/4, somewhere in there. But I never know. I don't like fitted hats. I like adjustable.
His family?
I'd say he's probably discovered something about everybody. Elon's got that paper trail, and he told us in the meeting, our little private meeting, there's a paper trail that's going back to Washington, D.C. And dadgummit, somebody better be let out of one of these buildings in handcuffs.
The reason I wanted to show this clip is this is a member of Congress, and he's saying, somebody, maybe Chuck Schumer, needs to be arrested for what they did. What did they do? I don't know. He doesn't know what they did. An elected member of Congress, is just saying, yeah, Elon told me that. Did he show you? No, he didn't show it. We don't know. But Elon said, why is Elon keeping a paper trail from them? Or was maybe Elon just blowing smoke up their ass, and then they're returning that smoke? They get their... I think it's kind of like a human centipede thing. Like they take turns, you blow smoke up an ass, and then you suck the smoke back up, and then you blow it. So this is smoke that was probably up Mike Johnson's ass. He sucked it out, and now he's blowing it up your ass here. They don't know. But it's one thing if this is just like a podcast, if it's just Benny Johnson. Sitting member of Congress says somebody needs to be arrested. For what? I don't know, really, honestly. I have no idea. But if somebody's not arrested, I'm going to be very upset.
Because this is real. This is going on. We've seen it all over. We see it in California with some of the elected officials out there. It's been documented in the past, and nobody's willing to say anything about it or do anything about it.
What's been documented in the past? Tim Burchett is a fucking psycho. It's been documented in the past. If it's been documented, why can't you cite anything? If it's been documented, why aren't you just telling us who you're talking about then? What they did, what the paper trail said. It hasn't been unless by documented in the past you mean like people have said it before. That's not documented.
They get reelected and they get put right back in leadership. And that's why it's so important to have a Justice Department that's not weaponized against the people, but is weaponized against corruption. And we've currently got that. We've just got to hold on to it.
Where?
And I don't know if we've got the guts or the willpower to do it, because Congress is gutless, Benny. Congress is gutless. Every day we ought to be demanding that these bills move forward, and nobody's doing it. Nobody.
Tim Burchett every day is demanding that the bills go forward. That's what he does every single day. But people aren't gutless. They're not stupid. I agree. Congress a lot of times is gutless. But like, this is just a bill. I'll cover it in a minute. Like, they don't want to pass it because it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, a few of us are, but until these committee chairmen move forward with this stuff and we get out of being compromised.
It's 600 right now, Hap. Just so you're clear, on multiple streams.
I would suggest to you that we will continue on this downhill slide.
We've got a lot of compromise, a lot of Chinese hooks into members of Congress.
They're in our military.
This is so brain dead. We got to get people arrested. And then Benny Johnson hits him with a lot of compromise, a lot of Chinese hooks. The fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, they can't figure out like even how to message anything that's going on. The markets are crashing. Trump is speaking like a madman. We're deporting people without due process, and they're in here going, "We gotta lock up Chuck Schumer." Why are we even talking about this stuff that's affecting everyday Americans? Let's talk about putting Chuck Schumer in handcuffs. Let's just say that Chuck Schumer was getting kickbacks from USAID. Let's just say that he was. Let's say that they did have a paper trail that they're talking about. I don't give a fuck right now. There's other things to worry about right now. It wouldn't be a focus of this show. You should be arrested if that's true. That's fine. But like, the fact that they're even doing this, and they're doing it with no paper trail, as they say, no evidence, just goes to show you, like, they're not really going to talk about the stuff that's affecting their viewers today, because they don't care about what's affecting their viewers today. They care about if their viewers keep coming back. And if their viewers start losing faith in Trump, their viewers might go here. Their viewers might go to Destiny. Their viewers might go to Hassan. Their viewers might go to David Pakman, to Majority Report. Hopefully not the Young Turks. That might be a landing spot for them. But that's why they're doing this. They can't tell you the truth. Like, hey, guys, our economy is crashing, and they're not telling us what they're doing. That's the news. That's the actual news every day. Fox they're trotting out, we got to arrest people. Fox is just doing like pedal to the metal anti-trans stuff. They don't want to tell you. They don't want you to know that this guy's fucking up.
Installations, they're like, oh, they're flying satellites over. They don't need to fly satellites over. They're running the commissaries. They have access to people's credit cards, social security numbers, all their information. You do not think that the Chinese are making files every day on this stuff. This is just, and what the hell? Why are we letting them in these places? Why are we letting them buy property? They're not going to take it from us, Benny. We're just.
Got a question about that, Mr. Burchett. You don't think that foreign entities, specifically China, should be allowed to invest in property or in America? Your guy is selling $5 million gold cards to allow people to come in here and buy property and invest in companies. How do you hold both those positions? How do you have this xenophobic ethno-state view of the world and yet support the guy who's like, hey, we're going to sell these gold cards. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to massively increase H-1B visas. How do you square those two positions? If you're Tim Burchett, you don't. You put that shit on the shelf. Remember, we talked about it yesterday. Just put it on the shelf. If it's inconvenient and it doesn't mean that Trump is God, throw it on the shelf. Move on. Do something else. It's not time to address this. Yes. Did I ever watch the Orrin Cass interview? Remind me of that one again. Who was Orrin Cass? What was that interview? Let me look. I remember the name, but I don't remember specifically what it was about. Oh, that was the guy on. You know what? No, I need to. Fuck, I forgot to do that. No, I didn't finish watching it. I forgot all about it. Good reminder. I'll try and watch it. There's a lot of stuff to cover right now. I don't get any lately. I don't get any to watch anything that I really want to watch. We'll end it with Tim Burchett there. I want to show you what my state did yesterday. I was proud of my state, specifically the Democrats in my state. Old mushmouth, dumbest person ever to hold a position in any cabinet in the history of the world, Tom Homan, came to Arizona to speak to Congress, and this is what happened before he spoke. Out what they're holding up, it's hard to see because it's a little small, but what they're holding up is each one has the name of an immigrant who have that disappeared after encounters with ICE. Shoot, that's gonna get clipped. That's gonna get me a copyright strike, I just realized. So we're gonna pull the music off here so that we don't have to clip this whole thing out of our segment. But that's what we had happen in Arizona yesterday. And I appreciate, like, this stuff fucking matters. This, if anybody's on the fence about these issues, if we get somebody on the fence about what Tom Homan's doing, suddenly this walkout makes more sense. You think, I mean, I don't think he's going to admit it, but the last guy I debated last night, was it Pops? Was it Pops or something? It was some like old-timey name, old-fashioned. That's something you don't hear anymore. That's kind of an old-fashioned word, Pops. I think if he saw this, where he left last night, he understands this now. For the people that, like, anybody who thinks that this is dumb, like our Republican friends here that thinks this is silly, I don't doubt that you think this is silly. But if you ever come to the conclusion that what we're doing is inhumane, you'll understand this. Once we come to the same understanding of the inhumanity of this administration and the way that they're treating human beings, that makes a lot of sense. But I agree. If you're somebody who has dehumanized immigrants to the point that you don't think it matters if they have justice, if they have due process, then yeah, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to you. And I get it. That's fine. We humanize people a little bit more. Just that. I mean, I think that's the main difference. Dumb. I hate cute dummies. You so cute, but you so dumb. Is that towards me? Move a Kajira? Is that directed at me? Jen just sent me that comment. Sorry about that. Stick around. Maybe it all makes sense at some point. Thanks for calling me cute. Robert says dollar for dollar today, dollar for today, dollar for yesterday, dollar for tomorrow. Love you guys, Brother Bob. Thank you, Brother Bob. Appreciate it. Swish said happy hump day, double daddy. Meow. Okay. Happy hump day, double daddy. Meow. There we go. She said I had to say it. Johnny said spherical objects, i.e. balls. Well done, Johnny. I forgot to check the messages on these other ones. Oh shit, there goes my light. That wasn't good. By the way, how's everybody feeling? How's everybody feeling today? Does anybody feel better today than they did yesterday? Oh, TikTok sent my monthly payment. That was good. TikTok pays really well. Solid $19 from TikTok for a month of work. All right, got that. Feeling numb? Yeah. By the way, anybody who would like to debate, if you're a Republican, if you have a problem with anything I'm saying, I would love to have a nice discussion with you. We can try and keep it sane if we can. Somebody yesterday was in here and then said I was running from a debate, so I gave them Jen's information. We'll see if they show up today. They did say that I was lucky they didn't know my address. There was a veiled threat there. But I'm gonna brush that off as bluster and say that they don't really want to come to my house unless they want to kiss me. Maybe he just wanted to kiss me. Breaking news coming. I think this actually broke last night, if I remember, during our debate. But Aaron Parnas, who I sometimes call Brett Meiselas, has some breaking news.
We have major breaking news right now. The Associated Press just secured a major victory in court against the Trump administration. Judge McFadden issued a temporary injunction preventing the Trump administration from blocking access to the Associated Press, to the Oval Office, to Air Force One. If you remember, the Trump administration blocked the Associated Press's access because the AP would not use the term Gulf of America, instead using Gulf of Mexico. Well, now Judge McFadden just issued a court ruling saying that the Trump administration cannot block the AP, at least temporarily, from these critical spaces. Now, it does not block the administration's ability to remove all journalists or journalists of its choosings, but essentially the administration cannot block the Associated Press because of its viewpoint, point blank period. This is a significant win for the First Amendment, significant win for the free press. I'll do a full breakdown on my Substack, link to my bio, so be sure to subscribe for free. As always, follow along to stay up to date on all the news you need to know about. Much more to come very soon.
There we go. I like the MAGAs here. It's always the fem guys every time. Thanks, Will. Look, you can call us fem guys. Maybe you were talking about him. Maybe you were talking about me. But while we may have fem guys over here, y'all a bunch of bitches. So I'd like to, like, the softest, thinnest skinned little bitches. We might have the fem guys, but you got the bitches, and you got them in spades. You're leading the league in bitches. Brian said Aaron Parnas just reported Cheeto Jesus will be imposing tariffs on pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, that's actually part of the show today. That I think broke this morning, so I'll cover that here in a minute. Let me keep going here. All right, this looks great. I think this is coming out on Sunday. So it looks like CNN originals. I have not seen Donnie O'Sullivan in a while. Either he hasn't been covering stuff that I'm covering, or he took a little break. This guy's name is what's his name? Igor Raiklin. Is it Raiklin? Yvonne Raiklin? Is it Raikin? Yvonne, that's what it is. Yvonne Raiklin. Yvonne Raiklin. If you search Yvonne Raiklin, the second one down is how tall is Yvonne Raiklin, and the answer is 5'7". Yvonne Raiklin here is, many people assume this is the J6 pipe bomber. There's some pretty good evidence, or at least circumstantial evidence that would lead us to believe that this is the pipe bomber. And if you're like, he couldn't be the pipe bomber, listen to him speak for a minute. But Donnie O'Sullivan is doing a special this Sunday. It's called, let me go back to it, and it's called
Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Wednesday, April.
Oh, that was reading my outline. Misinformation. It's going to be at 8 Eastern on CNN, and this preview is absolutely diabolical.
You mentioned Pelosi. What do you think she would be charged with in this scenario?
I mean, simple statute. This is treason. Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to see at the end of the due process, lawful capital punishment.
Will you be disappointed if in 12 months from now somebody hasn't been executed for treason?
I think the nation will be furious.
He says even I could be a target.
I'm not sure yet if you are or are not on the deep state target list, because I haven't consumed all of the information that you've put forth to determine what your status should be.
Well, we've been hanging out
as we ruin you.
As you what?
Just like you ruined us. An eye for an eye. Look up Leviticus as a Christian man.
Yeah. You just threatened him. You might be on the list. There is a list. There's absolutely a list. By the way, if you think like, I've never heard of this guy, who is he? Just go look him up. Go look. If we go to images of Ivan Raiklin, he's with everybody. It's not like this guy is a nobody. You can find pictures of him with Trump. You can find him on podcasts with Kash Patel. You can find him sitting behind. Here's an interesting one. This was. I don't remember what the hearing was, but he sat during a hearing with a Retribution and Rumble hat on here. I don't remember what the hearing was there. This is a known quantity. Good friends with Michael Flynn. Runs around with Michael Flynn. Here he is. I believe this was before January 6th. This is I forget this guy's name. Stu Rhodes, and what's this guy's name? This is Enrique Taro. This is Stuart Rhodes, and I always forget this guy's name. This isn't like an unknown quantity. This is a real influential person on the right, and he's basically saying, like, if you go against us, we're probably going to kill you.
Joining me now to discuss, CNN senior correspondent Donnie O'Sullivan. I'm just going to pick up where that very tense and strange moment left off just now. I mean, you heard some threats, the idea of ruining you. What was going through your head at that moment?
It really is the friends you make along the way, isn't it, Laura?
Okay, I think you need to redefine friendship, Donnie, but go ahead.
What we're trying to do, what we hope to do in this episode of The Whole Story is just really show, and by the way, this month is actually the 30-year anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing and Timothy McVeigh, and really just trying to give our audience a sense of how really mainstream so much
Thanks, Tiandrell.
extremism has become, and just how easily many of us are becoming radicalized. I mean, if you think back to Oklahoma City, Timothy McVeigh was in part inspired by the Turner Diaries, a anti-Semitic white supremacist novel. At the time, that was sort of difficult, somewhat difficult to get your hands on a copy of that. Whereas today, now, we have basically the equivalent of the Turner Diaries and worse being served to hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of us through algorithms, through social media.
I know we're watching this. It is one of the most distracting things about doing this job is watching uncomfortable information for Republicans on the screen and watching them in the chat. Because they lose their fucking minds. When something is uncomfortable for them, they just start throwing, it's just like insults. They just, Republicans are more popular. It's crazy. Chill, guys. Just watch the video. Just chill. Pay attention.
Yeah, and what you see, that gentleman that I was speaking to there, you would have noticed in the clip that we were interviewing him, but he was also streaming on his social media. This is a very common thing now. But he's sort of one of these MAGA type world influencers who is just very openly, clearly as you can see there, calling for violence, calling for, as he says, retribution.
Unapologetic and quite clear, and wanted this to be broadcast, going from, I guess, talk about extremism, hiding in plain sight to here I am and I stand for this. But we meet other people along the way in this kind of motley crew in this installation. Tell me about other people we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot going on right now. But, just back to this idea of really how technology is changing us and radicalizing us. Luigi Mangione the alleged murderer of Brian Thompson was alleged to have used a 3D printed gun. So in this episode, we also go to meet really the godfather of 3D printed guns. His name is
Cody. Who knew there was one, first of all?
Cody Wilson. He's an activist based out of Texas. But again, just kind of going back through time a bit, if you think 30 years ago, there was the notorious anarchist cookbook. You remember the book had instructions to make homemade explosives and things like that. It was tied to multiple terror attacks through the decades. Again, something that was sort of difficult to get your hands on. But today, not only do you get the instructions to make these recipes for homemade explosives, you have material, all the plans to print a 3D gun. And I mean, I was shocked when I went to this 3D printing facility in Austin, because the 3D printers are so widely available now, so cheap, you can literally print these guns at home.
Very, very interesting.
That's not good. That's not good. I don't know, wherever you fall on guns. And I'm not against the Second Amendment. I have a firearm myself. I think that guns should not be in the hands of dangerous people as much as we can avoid that. Being able to 3D print one's a problem. That's a real fucking problem. It makes them untraceable. Makes it so that if somebody, let's say somebody is a domestic abuser and they lose their rights for a firearm, they'll just 3D print one, and then makes abuse a little more easy. Terrifying. I'll be watching this. I'll be in I think Seaside. I'm going to be in Seaside, Oregon this weekend. Oh shit. Fuck, I wasn't supposed to say that. All right. I wasn't supposed to say that until later. Not that it's a secret from you guys, but hopefully people aren't watching. Certain people I hope are not watching. It's a surprise for somebody, so I hope they're not watching. I just realized that. But I'll be watching this while I'm off for the weekend. Fuck, I might have just blown it for somebody. I feel like an idiot. That's not good. That's not good. All right. Last headline before we get going. here's what.
Right,
oh, Jen, are you here? Jen?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh.
You just if you're not talking about something, you don't need to keep focusing on it.
I know. Sorry. I know. It just kept coming up.
Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about something, but I'm going to keep drawing attention to it.
No, it's that I didn't want people. Yeah, there's a lot of people here. I don't want the people to feel like I'm lying to them or keeping a secret.
Fine. Everything's fine.
So let's keep talking about it.
Okay.
All right, do your announcements while you're here.
Yeah, I'll do my announcements.
Thanks.
All right. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, you see our gift goal. This is our job, as much as most of you hate it. Which side note, fun fact, I find it so funny that there's a handful of people who come in to cry every fucking day.
Hey, look, I'm pro crying. I think people need to cry every day.
I'm kind of anti-cry, but there's a couple of people who they hate it so much here, but they come back every fucking day.
Thanks for coming back, guys. Appreciate it.
I mean, we appreciate the engagement, appreciate the support. But anyways, gift goal top left-hand corner, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out the remaining balance. We do this Monday through Friday from 9:30 a.m. To 1 Pacific Standard Time. So by the end of the show, we need to knock out the rest of that balance. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch and YouTube, please do so. On Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. You can just regularly subscribe on YouTube, and we'll also have 4 different memberships on YouTube as well. If you disagree with Jay and you want to prove him wrong, how to do that is you see the Venmo. That's the same username as my Discord. So if you want to DM me on Discord, Jen, JENN, DUBB, the number 1, I can bring you in to actually have a real life conversation so you don't have to cry in the comments. That's how you do that. Also check out our link tree. We've got merch. We're on most other social media platforms. So yeah, that's how you do all that. What do porn stars and truckers have in common?
I don't know.
They both get paid by the load.
Oh God. All right. All right, just want to show you what our cool government is doing right now. And accidentally, Republicans by their obsession with tracking down immigrants, so because they're running out of people to deport. While they do that, they're accidentally telling on themselves that they've been lying to you about everything. Here we go. Here's what the IRS and ICE are up to.
The IRS has agreed to share address information with ICE
for
them
Steve.
to go knock on doors of people with orders of deportation and arrest them. Sounds like a good idea from the government's perspective. They have to figure out where people are living with orders of deportation because people move around. But there are laws that shield the IRS from sharing any data with law enforcement unless it's for criminal investigations or terrorism investigations. Immigration is neither criminal, nor do most people with orders of deportation are considered terrorists. So I'm sure this will be litigated in court as well. In the meantime, it's just going to prevent people from filing taxes, less money collected. And if they do file taxes, everyone's going to start using wrong addresses. It's going to turn into a poop show.
Some would call that a shit show. But on top of everything that he just said there, the Trump administration just admitted that people who are here legally and illegally pay taxes. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. Where's that tax revenue going to go? Let's make sure to deport people. If you're deporting somebody who is paying taxes, you're going to lose tax revenue. So what was the benefit? Because you guys said you're deporting them not because they're brown, but because they're leeching and you don't want to pay for them. Well, they're paying for you. Because while they pay into those taxes, they don't get to take from those taxes. They don't get Social Security. They don't get Medicare, Medicaid. They might get Medicaid sometimes, actually, depending on your state. But for the most part, they don't get Medicare or Medicaid. They certainly never get Social Security. Whoops. So this administration, just so we're clear, cutting taxes for billionaires, increasing taxes for the middle class and poor people, and cutting tax revenue and removing workers from the economy while saying we need more jobs. 8 million jobs on field, get rid of a lot of those workers, and then bring back manufacturing jobs that nobody wants. They've done polling on this. Like 1 in 5 Americans say that we want more manufacturing jobs, but like 8% of Americans want to work those manufacturing jobs. And that's about the amount of people who are working manufacturing right now. So if we bring back more jobs, who's going to work them? Nobody wants to work manufacturing jobs. This is hands down the most chaotic, nonsensical economic policy that any president has ever attempted to trot out. And in any other country and in any other room, this person would be laughed out of the room. But because you have sold out to Donald Trump and you're just like, you've gone this far. You've already done all the lies with him. You pretend that Russia, like he didn't work with Russia. You pretend that he won the 2020 election. You pretend that he's going to lock people up. You pretended that we were going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. You went along with them pretending they cared about fixing the border under the Biden administration. You're just going to go along with anything. You're all George Santos, and great. That's fine. I mean, I appreciate you guys. Go down swinging. I appreciate that you're not willing to just hear me, just some guy on the internet, and be like, I'm changing my views because that guy called me dumb. That's good. You shouldn't do that. But you should stick around because you might learn something new today. You could. AG Text Lady, thank you for the super chat there, joining the dollar train. Looks like I had Dondrell join the dollar train as well. And I thought I just got a notification. Did I not get a notification? Maybe it was just maybe it was from Jen. Oh yeah, it was from Jen. Thank you guys for that. All right, on to the meat of the show. Last night, Trump went and spoke to Republicans. And what was planned is that he was supposed to, after they had dinner, he was just supposed to make some quick remarks. It went for an hour and 30 minutes. And because Trump's like on autopilot. So every time he gets up to speak in front of a crowd, he treats it like a campaign rally. And he just he does his hour-and-a-half campaign speech about how everything's unfair and how Democrats are ruining everything while he's speaking in front of Republicans who have control of Congress, the Senate, the judiciary, and the executive branch. And still, he found a way to complain about Democrats for an hour and a half. Because the one thing about MAGA before anything is they complain. That's what they do. They just complain, blame. And I understand that the MAGA here are probably saying that we're doing the same thing today. The difference is we're complaining about things that are happening to us right now, things that do exist, things that affect us. And MAGA's just complaining about shit that got them votes, and they don't want to address what's happening now. So we still have to hear about Joe Biden a lot. We still have to hear about Kamala Harris a lot. We have to. All we hear about is trans people. The amount of Republicans who bring up tampons to me is fucking insane. For a bunch of dudes who would never go to the store and buy their wife tampons, you sure talk about tampons a lot. Amanda says, run this train. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. Anyways, during that meeting, somebody, I don't know who this was, they're in trouble, but somebody zoomed way in and got this screenshot of Mike Johnson during the speech looking at Drudge Report. Now, I love Drudge Report because it's definitely made for old people. I actually like their layout. I wish more websites would lay out like Drudge. But this is Mike Johnson reading, and the ticker says that the stock market is crashing. That's what this little ticker here says. If we go to Drudge right now, let's see what they're saying this morning. Drudge has been they were like the go-to. This was a guy named Matt Drudge that started it. He died. I almost want to say he took his own life, but I might be wrong about that. So I'm sorry if I am. This is Drudge. This was the right-wing news source. Back when I was a Republican, this was like everybody loved Drudge. And then they just started reporting accurately about Trump, and now everybody hates Drudge. But here is their right-wing website that Mike Johnson's looking at. Stock roller coaster bond route deepens. Street rattled. Sell everything. China slaps 84% tariffs. EU green lights retaliation. It's not going well. Goddamn, Tiger Woods apparel they are spending some ad revenue to try and get you to buy a $400 polo. Did we show this one yesterday, the AI video? I think we showed that one yesterday, right? It was on the list. Did we show this video yesterday? I can't believe it was on New York Post too? That's crazy. I can't do it with their ads. I can't do it. I can't watch it here. It's 2 ads. I got to watch 2 ads to watch this from New York Post. Anyway, so that's how things are going. Trump can sit up there all day long and say that everybody's on his side and that nobody's worried about it. Mike Johnson's worried about it. It's also a reminder that these guys check the news like crazy. They don't really check in with their constituents, but they check the news. That's where they decide what they're going to do. Here's what Trump said yesterday. If I were to go around to my neighbors and leave a note on their door, every door, let's say there's 100 neighbors, and I left a note on every one of their doors, and I was like, starting tomorrow, I'm going to take my dog shit and throw it at your windows every morning. And I wrote a note, and I'm big, but if you want to negotiate it, give me a call. If I did that, by noon, I would have a line of people at my house or calling me saying, hey, I would like to negotiate this deal that you're making, that you're going to throw shit at my house. Donald Trump is, and Republicans, their new talking point is, see, it's working. All these people called Trump. Yeah, of course they did. Of course they called him. They're like, dude, what the fuck? What are you doing? Of course they would like tariffs to go away. Of course they'll try and figure out a way to negotiate on behalf of their constituents.
Thanks for the sub.
Of course they're going to do that. But Trump's making this seem like I'm such a good negotiator that all these people that I could have called and negotiated deals with before I did this, they're all calling me now. You just call them, dude. You could have just call them. You could have called them before. You could have said, here's my plan. I'm going to slap a 50% tariff on you if you don't lower these specific tariffs. And a lot of them would have been like, all right, fine, we'll lower those tariffs. That's probably what would have happened. And it wouldn't benefit you guys hardly at all. That's the irony of all of this. We're not, like, the average American, most of us, like, we're not getting hurt really by tariffs. Tariffs protect American jobs, and they make it possible so that if you invent something here in America and you've cornered the market, tariffs are supposed to be a tool used by the government to make sure that some other country doesn't steal your idea, use cheaper labor, and flood the market with a cheaper idea than you have, which ironically, again, is exactly what Amazon does. It's crazy. Like, we don't like when China rips off American businesses. We love when Amazon rips off American businesses, though. When they just flat out steal your idea and bury you on Amazon, and they just replicate your product for $5 cheaper. That's capitalism. That we love that. But when China does the same thing, that somehow is communism. Anyways, here's Trump talking about how great he is.
I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate. Congress takes over negotiating. Sell America fast because you're going to go busted. You don't. I just saw.
Imagine being a Republican in Congress and he's saying, you guys are so shitty that I have to do your job. So shut the fuck up and let me do your job. And they're just like, yay! Yay! We're shitty. You imagine that? That's what they're clapping at right now. Guys, he insulted us. He picked us. He singled us out. We got some attention from the Donald. That's crazy. They clapped for that.
Today, a couple of your congressmen said, I think we should get involved in the negotiation of the tariffs. Oh, that's what I need. I need some guy telling me how to negotiate. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you do. You do need some guy. How do I do that? Like that? There we go. You do need some guy to tell you how to negotiate because you're struggling. Where are the new negotiated tariffs? You lost to Canada and Mexico. Like we saw the preview. These other countries too, after Mexico and Canada basically called Trump's bluff, these other countries see that and they're like, oh, he'll back down. And now he's in a position where he can't back down. And this puts America in an interesting position because we're going to test how deep the love of Donald Trump is with MAGA. It's going to start hurting your pocketbooks soon, very soon. I'll show you some clips already. There's a lot of people are stocking up on stuff that they assume is going to go up, but very soon if these tariffs are not removed, it's going to start affecting your pocketbook. And when you can't afford the things that you used to be able to afford, you might say month one, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice for what's better for the country. You might be willing to do it for 2 months, 3 months, 4, but eventually you might just start questioning, is this better for the country? What benefit do I get? And I'm telling you, and you're welcome to come debate this, please, MAGA, any of you, it's not going to benefit you. Even if Trump gets what he wants, it doesn't help you. That's the craziest part about this plan. Is if Trump, like, let's just say, like, I don't like Trump and I don't like bullying, but let's say this tariff plan would be good for us. Let's just say that they could provide evidence that this is a good plan for us. It's true, I would probably oppose Trump's method of doing it because I don't think this is a good way. I think global partnerships are important, and that's one aspect of this discussion. And it's true that I would be against that, but I would admit that getting to the end result he wants to get to is preferable. The problem is the end result where he wants us to be doesn't benefit us. It makes we're going to have shittier products at and they're going to be more expensive, unless the only way that the products in America will be less is if Trump crashes the dollar. Is if through all of this, by the way, which is crazy. Let me tell you the craziest part about this. There are some economists who think, and Trump alludes to it, and I think Trump knows of this economic theory, but there's an economic theory that if you disrupt global trade and you get other countries to stop using the US dollar, then it devalues our currency, which makes the cost of living here less for a dollar amount, right? It's short-sighted. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and that will decimate people. Like if my house is valued at $500,000 and we devalue the dollar, and now it's $250,000, I've just lost a bunch of equity. I've just lost access to a line of credit. I've lost access to years of equity that I built up by making on-time payments. Your assets will be worth less. But then, yeah, in a way, like that can reset the economy. But ironically, I've just spent the last 4 years of you guys telling me that I shouldn't support Biden and that I should be a fan of crypto, and I need to do crypto because of BRICS. That's what BRICS is trying to do. BRICS is trying to remove the dependence on the US dollar as well. And so if Donald Trump succeeds and the value and the dollar is devalued, then he is doing the bidding of Russia and China, either on purpose or unintentionally. But that benefits everybody but us. There is no benefit to this tariff war. There is no benefit to reciprocal tariffs. You will not see any benefit for this, with the exception of, like, you might have some costs of goods come down a little bit. And that's it. That's not enough to make up for the devaluation of the dollar. That's definitely not enough to make up for the fact that now we have trade partners who don't trust us anymore. And long after Trump is gone, the remnants of him will remain. Ronald Reagan was the most popular figure in the Republican Party until Donald Trump came along. Long after he died, people were still spouting off Reaganomics. They were still quoting Art Laffer and talking about trickle-down economics. Even though, like, in practice we were watching it not work, you still have Republicans spouting the same shit. So our trade partners recognize that. Our trade partners recognize that there is not an insignificant amount of people who now think that unpredictable retaliatory tariffs are the new norm for America. And they don't want to trade with somebody who trades like that. So all you're getting, if Trump's plan goes to, if Trump's ideas come to fruition, if this plan goes as we guess they intend, because they won't tell us what the plan is. If it goes like we guess that it's intending, all you have is a bunch of American-made goods. That's it, and many of them worse. Many of them worse quality, less functional, and more expensive. And the only way for them to get less expenses is if we devalue our currency and become less of a world power. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think Trump would want to make us less powerful. I think that's a person that's obsessed with power. I just think he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing because he's taking advice from idiots. He's taking advice from Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro has no clue. Peter Navarro's research is based on him citing himself with a fake name as Ron Vara is his expert. That should have been the end of Peter Navarro. That story broke 3 days ago, that the economic advisor of Donald Trump, that his entire economic theory is based on his feelings, and he still has a job in the White House, and he's still in President Trump's ear. That should have been the end of it. And it's because of pride. Trump has too much pride. I don't know who can pressure him to back down. I don't know if it's possible to pressure him to back down. This is a man with enormous pride, and he's going to talk about it here. Republicans in the House are actually holding up Trump's tax cuts right now, and it's the deficit hawks. Eric Burleson, who's a two-term congressman from the Ozarks, is unequivocal about his support for President Trump. Do you guys ever get embarrassed of this? You're not allowed to criticize Trump if you're a Republican without saying I love him first. And I think this happens sometimes across the board. But can we normalize just criticizing somebody without having to say how much you love them? I love the president, he said, but Mr. Burleson's also one of about a dozen hardline conservative Republicans who have said they cannot back their party's budget blueprint to unlock Trump's spending and tax cuts, even as the president is imploring them to support it in a vote that could come as early as Wednesday. I can't live with myself if I go back home and I added more debt and deficits without any kind of correction whatsoever. I could not live with myself. You remember, you guys voted for him and you said you wanted to reduce the deficit. You blamed Joe Biden for the exploding deficit. You kept telling us we can't do any more of this, like that we're on the verge of bankruptcy. And the first move by Donald Trump is to put in a bill that it increases deficits. And now you have these Republicans saying, like, I can't do this. Like, sorry, I'm not like you, Donald. I can't campaign on one thing and then pretend I didn't and just turn my back and lie to my constituents. I have too much respect for my constituents to lie to their face. And so Trump sees that because Trump sees everything. And Trump decides he's going to use his time at the, what is this place? This is the NRCC, National Republican Cuck Committee, I think. I think that's what it is. He knows this. He knows that there's a handful of Republicans who don't want to increase the deficit holding up this deal. And so what does he do? He goes on stage and he puts the rest of Republicans against him. He creates a rift. He doesn't try and negotiate. He just says, do what the fuck I say. I'm in charge now, bitches.
It's so important that we pass the big, beautiful bill because that's going to be, and I really think we're helped a lot by the tariff situation that's going on, which is a good situation, not a bad. It's great. It's going to be legendary. You watch, legendary in a positive way, I have to say. It's going to be legendary. But I really think it actually puts pressure on those few Republicans that just can't get there. You know what the alternative is? A Democrat bill or a chapter for the country. You know, we have the debt continuation. And they have to do this. They have to get there. And I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal.
Close your eyes and get there. Shut the fuck up. Close your eyes and get there. We're not a cult. No, we're not a cult. We're totally not a cult. What does your leader say? Close your eyes and get there. Yeah, we're doing it. We're not a cult. Are you fucking kidding me? That's the president. That's the leader of your party saying, do what I say. And if you don't like it, if you don't like the math, if the math can't make sense, close your eyes. Don't look at the math anymore. When I was in a cult, my cult leader once said, and this was a problem for a lot of people in the cult. It caused a problem. He said, doubt your doubts. Don't doubt your faith. Doubt your doubts, not your faith. If you ever start thinking too much about something and the information is problematic for you, just ignore it. Put it up on the shelf. This is a man telling you, literally, close your eyes.
They have to do this. They have to get there. And I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill. Stop grandstanding. Just stop grandstanding. Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Guys, stop talking about it. Just do it. Close your eyes. Yeah, thank you. Yes, there we go. Finally, us and the Republic. Check this out, guys. Us and the Republicans, we are on the same page. This is TDS. Thank you. TDS is very real. It's very, very real. Thank you. I love this, Republicans. Let's keep coming together. This is TDS on full display here. They're clapping for it. That is crazy, TDS. He just told us to ignore what we're seeing. Yay! This TDS is crazy. Thank you, Republicans. I'm so happy to be on the same page with you today.
You know, their policy, the Democrats, is horrible. It's horrible. Think of it, open borders, just all of the horrible, stupid things they have. You don't have energy, you don't have anything. They've lost their confidence. Everything is bad. But the one thing, they always vote in unison. You don't see somebody that's holding up. I'm going to hold up. And the alternative is hell.
He's such a now he's just lying. You know how mad we are at Democrats for not voting in unison? We just had Democrats like 4 seconds ago not vote in unison for the budget. We just did this. This is what they have to do. Trump has to say this. We have to act like the Democrats. They vote in unison. No, they don't. So he makes up a story to try and pressure Republicans to close their eyes and vote to increase the deficit. Cool. Do you see how they operate here? Are we getting it, Republicans? I agree. I love this. I love that we're all coming together today. This is great. 808 people here today. Republicans, Democrats, Independents, we all agree. The Trump derangement syndrome is on full display, and we need to do something about it.
You know, the alternative is hell. So the Republicans just have one little thing the Republican Party has to do is get together and damn vote. If you're a single guy or a second guy, and you fight like hell for what you get, and then in the end you have to vote because the policy is phenomenal. You know, they don't get every little ounce. It doesn't work that way. And this bill that we're working on now is the best I think we've ever passed. Mike, wherever you may be, it's the best. I think it's the best thing we'll get it passed. But I think it's going to be the most important thing we've ever passed. It's the best thing we've ever passed. It's so
nonsense. It's just rambling incoherently there. I don't know that. I don't think it's going to pass. Look, there is breaking news right now. That from Axios that Trump is pausing reciprocal tariffs for 90 days for everybody but China. I'm going to continue with the show anyways because I think it's important that we discuss this. So a lot of the stuff from that we prepared for the show is not going to be super we got a 90-day pause. It might not happen. By the way, we just crashed the market for what? Yeah. Here it is. Which is amazing. Like, I just want to say that all last night, all day yesterday, all day this morning, you guys are backing these tariffs, saying that Trump, that we're supporting it, and then backs off tariffs except for China. President Trump paused the sweeping reciprocal tariffs the U.S. imposed this week, saying dozens of countries had reached out to negotiate new trade deals. The U.S. stocks promptly kicked off a ferocious rally with the S&P rising 7% in the matter. So we just crashed the economy for no reason. Oh my God. Oh, it's such a fucking coup. This is so fraudulent. This makes no fucking sense, guys. They just shorted the stock market, transferred trillions of dollars in wealth, and everybody's buying right now. This is crazy. We don't live in a real country anymore. This is fucking crazy. For 4 days, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like every Republican in here, you've been defending this for 4 days. You've been saying that we're gonna double down. Trump last night is saying we got to double down on it, and he flips this morning. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't even think this is Trump either, to be honest. I don't think he's smart enough to pull this off. These are his handlers. This is Howard Lutnick. This is Amazon. This is Jeff. This is Jeff Bezos. This is Zuckerberg. Watch. Who's going to go out and buy stocks right now? Who's buying this dip now? It is unfucking believable. This is the most fraudulent economy in the history of the world. This is sick. This is absolutely sick what they're doing here. I don't know what to tell you, Republicans. Like, what the fuck? How do you defend this? How have you just switched? You went from 4 minutes ago. 4 minutes ago. That's right. Take it all the way. Last night, Republicans standing ovation. Yeah, we're not going to back down. Trump won't back down. And then today he just changes it, and you're like, okay, reverse course. Immediately, you guys just switched your position. Immediately. What the fuck are you doing? Why are we letting this happen? This is crazy. It's fucking crazy. This guy's a joke, man. All right. We're going to keep going on. I honestly don't even know where to go with this. We're just going to move on. Like, honest to God, we're just going to move on. You Republicans here are just going to move on. You're just going to pretend like he didn't promise you and that you guys didn't spend the last 4 days. Every fucking right-wing creator, every fucking one of them has been telling you for 4 straight fucking days, chill, this is going to work, the tariffs are going to work. And 4 days later, you're like, okay, we're switching our position now. You're a fucking joke. You guys are a joke. You're making us look like a joke to the whole fucking world. The whole world just sees, all we have to do is call his bluff. Nobody got hurt from anywhere else. The only people hurt by this trade war are American citizens. You and I were the only ones getting hurt by this. Trump's getting his fucking ass beat everywhere across the world. He can't beat Canada. He can't beat Mexico. He can't beat China. He can't beat a fucking island full of penguins. And you guys just turn. You just, okay, right turn, okay, left turn. We just do it. You just turn. Have some fucking self-respect. This guy just played every one of you for a fool for 4 days. And you all defended it for 4 days. And now he backs off and you're like, yeah, that's right. Whatever he does is perfect. Jody said not a cult, but I switched my view from 3 minutes ago because Daddy said so. Yeah, thank you. Totally not a cult. What's that? Trump did a 180? Okay, 180. Here we go. Right back to it. Thank you for the super chat there, Hugo. I'm proud, Marlene. I'm proud to be an American. You're proud to be a fucking idiot, Marlene. You're proudly stupid. You're not proud to be an American. You're proud to stuff your head up inside Donald Trump's asshole every single day and get force-fed a steady diet of bullshit with a hint of filet of fish. I am not proud to be an American right now. I'm not. I don't know how you could be proud. Yeah, dude, it's so cool how our leader just keeps getting absolutely dusted in trade wars. It's awesome. It's so cool how nobody wants to trade with us anymore. It's fucking cool. And if we do put the tariffs in, it's going to be so cool when I pay taxes for it. Honestly, where's the self-respect? Where is it? You guys are a joke. You can be mad at me all you want. Dude, take some Midol or something. Stop having feelings. No, fuck. How about fuck you? How about that? How about fuck you? How about reach down, grab your balls, and come debate it with me then? How about you guys get on a microphone one fucking time and actually defend a position? No, we couldn't do that. We couldn't defend a position, could we? This guy's got emotions. MAGA 2028. Trump 2028. You're in a fucking cult. You should be embarrassed and you're not. You're just like, oh, this guy, I can't believe this guy is upset that our president is unilaterally running the country into the ground. What? He must not love America. It's a joke. I don't want to be associated with America right now. I don't want somebody. I'm going to fake an accent if I travel. I'm going to tell people I'm from Canada from now on. I'm just going to lie about my citizenship. I don't want people to know I'm over here with this fucking idiot. Just put trillions into his buddy's pockets. FOD. Thank you, Hugo. Rory said, close your eyes, take it all. Mary said, Trump paused the tariffs for 9 days except China. He's a pussy. American goods. Rory says, who do we sell to besides us? It's a fucking joke. No, I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to point out how goddamn dumb you guys are. And you don't want us to leave either, because if we leave, you guys are full of fucking idiots and the place will crash. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep being loud, and you guys are going to lose you're going to lose like, not you as a party, because your party will adjust, but conservative economics, trickle-down economics, capitalism's great, socialism is bad. It's fucked. Sorry that we're going to get you guys universal health care. My bad. Sorry that we're going to make education better in this country. My bad. Sorry we're going to develop better relationships across the world. My bad. You'll thank us later. You're too dumb to figure it out now, but you'll thank us later. The last thing on earth you want is for us to leave. The only reason you want me to leave right now is because you're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with the fact that your guy doesn't make any fucking sense. And you don't have any response to that other than to criticize me. It's the only response that you can come up with. They are undeniably rubes chanting USA, USA, USA. Bro, like, this is NPC. This is NPC. You ever play Grand Theft Auto? You ever play that and you go like you like rob a bank or whatever? I used to when I would start the game, I would just like camp out outside of the ATMs, and then I would rob the people that took the money from the ATMs. And then you go on like this wild police chase and like a trillion cars getting car wrecks, and then you have the stars or whatever, the wanted level, and then eventually you get away and the wanted level's back or is gone, and then you just like roll back in to the city and you roll back up to that same ATM and everybody acts like it's just normal. Like, that's because they're NPCs. That's because they're programmed. They're programmed to reset when the wanted level resets. And that's what we're dealing with here with these Republicans, with these MAGA Republicans. They're just NPCs. No matter what your view is, as soon as something changes, you just change your view with it. You guys went from we have to have tariffs to, oh, who cares? It's fine. I mean, within like 30 seconds, all I had to do was announce that Trump dropped the tariffs, and without even checking to see if I was right. Maybe I was lying about that. Maybe that wasn't a real story. Without even checking, you just immediately switch your views. So we're gonna go on with the rest of the show because this is what we prepared. It'd be great if one of you guys had any courage and would come up here, but I'm gonna guess not. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that Trump is going to reintroduce his tariffs at the end of these 90 days. Which he keeps doing, by the way. Fourth time, at least a little bit of the boy called wolf. But here's what Trump's plan was to make sure that if you don't like paying more for all goods, at least know that your medication is going to be more expensive.
But we're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. This is what I voted for 100%. You 100% voted for Donald Trump to once every other week announce tariffs, threaten countries call his bluff, and he backs down. I 100% voted for this. Fuck off. No, you didn't.
The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals. And when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here. But we're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals. And once we do...
Good. Let's tariff the pharmaceuticals. Let's do that. The highest pharmaceutical prices in the world, we pay 4 times the amount of every other country for our pharmaceuticals. Let's put a tariff on those and raise that as well. That'll do it. That'll make healthcare more affordable. This guy's an idiot. By the way, somebody said like I'm saying Trump's evil. I'm not. I'm not saying you're evil. I'm not saying Trump is evil. I'm saying you're dumb, and there's a big difference. Stop changing my words. I do not think you're evil. I don't think you're smart enough to be evil. I think you're dumb, and I think that you like him, so you trust him, and you don't like me because I'm saying mean things about him, and so you don't like me. You're not taking in any of this information, and that's fine. You guys are fucked. Fucked. Absolutely fucked. Trump just gave permission. Trump just conceded not only to all these other countries, to me. He conceded to me. He conceded to the Democrats. He conceded to the handful of Republicans that stood up against him. He conceded to all of us. What a master negotiator. Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff that he just did. And shout out to the American people for being fucking loud. Yeah, I bet those protests didn't help, did they? I bet those millions of people that hit the street last weekend didn't help, did they? I bet the people flooding Republicans' town halls and phone lines didn't help, did it? No. I'm sure that had nothing to do with this. I'm sure that Trump just caved to the pressure for no reason. I'm sure that's what it was. I'm sure it wasn't that he knew he was about to lose in court, in Congress, and with the American people. Yeah, I'm sure. It's all 4D chess, right? You just lost more support. You guys hang on for dear life, though. If you leave, I'm not going to have a show anymore. So I appreciate that you're here. Here was Andrew Sullivan yesterday. This is Congress yesterday. Trump trotted out, this one's not Congress. Trump trotted out his best guy into Congress yesterday. It didn't go well, but this was Andrew Sullivan on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher doing the same thing that the Republicans in the chat are doing. You guys get uncomfortable when people get upset and are making good points, so you tell us to chill. We're not going to chill. I like being emotional. I'm going to be frank with that. I wear my emotions on a sleeve. If you know when I'm mad, you know when I'm happy, you know when I'm sad. I love that. I wish everybody was like that. I don't like having to guess how people are feeling. I love this shit. Bill Maher's uncomfortable with this shit because Bill Maher's afraid to take a stand and have emotions. I love this shit, and I want more of this.
The government in this country claims it can break down anyone's doors, seize anyone with no due process, put them on a plane, and send them to a foreign jail where who knows what's going to happen to them. I want to say the last person in this country who did that was called George III. This is fundamental to this country's survival, to the meaning of this country. We do not let people violate people's security without due process, without law. Period. I know I'm hyped up about this. I know they're not necessarily citizens. I know that some of them, a lot of them, are horrible people that shouldn't be here. But some of them are not. The whole point of this is that innocent people are caught up in this when they should not be, when you are not giving them any chance to prove that they shouldn't be there.
Again, but can
Sorry,
calm down. Jesus Christ.
This is America. This is
that's called sitting at like with in a place of privilege, where like it doesn't affect Bill Maher. He's not upset about it. Oh, that was Hoofy that said they're undeniably rubes chanting USA, USA. I love that shit. Be passionate. Make people uncomfortable. I'm all for that. All right. I kind of agree with Patrick Bet-David this morning. I thought that was interesting. He's this is prophetic. Here's Patrick Bet-David. Again, before we knew any of this. China. So Trump announced tariffs on China. China imposes an 84% tariff on imports from the United States. Patrick Bet-David says this, and I wonder what he's going to say. USA to China, 104% tariff. China to USA, 84% tariff. Someone will eventually give in. It will come down to a few things. Who needs who more? Who has more leverage? Who has more time? China, China, China. www.trumpfuckinglost.com. Here was the prediction by PBD. Someone's going to cave. It was us. Who needs who more? We need China more. Who has more leverage? China. Who has more time? China. Donald Trump got his ass kicked by China today. Good. And you know what's crazy? China bailed out the American public today. China stood strong against our dictator, and he made all of our lives better today. Everybody that's talking about, you guys are like, oh, look at it was just a couple days now, the stock market went up. Oh, I bought the dip, and now I'm making money. Cool, thank China. Thank China that the stock market drops ended today. You know what he's done? He's lined the pockets of rich people. He's transferred wealth to rich people. Just be clear. If this is part of his plan, then I think his plan is just to give rich people more money. You got to pick a position there. If Trump knows what he's doing, and we've had a massive wealth transfer, and we've secured no new manufacturing, we've secured no drops in tariffs, we've got nothing in return except for rich people got richer. Then if you say this, if you say he knows what he's doing, then you also have to concede his plan was to help his rich friends get richer. Yeah, we love that. We hope they get all the money. Here was John Kennedy this morning. And like I said, we're going to play this throughout the day because I didn't know that halfway, like a minute into the show, that it was going to change. Here was Republican John Kerry talking about the stupidity of how Donald Trump is operating.
An eye for an eye just leaves both people blind. When a government imposes a tariff, it's putting its thumb on the scale. It interferes with people's freedom to exchange goods and service.
I do understand he didn't lower the tariffs on China. China beat him. If you think for 1 second that this isn't about China, China was going around to those other countries, and China was saying, trade with us instead of the United States then. And those other countries probably called Trump and said, hey, we're going to trade with China. If you're going to cut us off, you're going to add these tariffs on us, we're going to trade with China. China's been behind the scenes. China is the reason that Trump backed down right now, because these other countries recognize that they don't need the United States nearly as much as we need them. The problem is we were nearsighted. Or at least Republicans were. You shipped off all these jobs. And so now the cool thing about our economy is that most of the stuff that we export has high markups, has high margins. And the stuff we import has very low margins. And so it makes sense for other countries to have these low margin, low cost products. And it makes sense for us to buy them because we can buy them cheaper. Most of the stuff we export, we make a lot more money on. So China goes to these countries and they're like, hey, we'll do trade with us instead. Our economy, if you do trade with us instead, our economy will grow bigger than the United States anyways. We have more people, so that's going to grow China's economy, and we'll be able to buy everything you guys need. Just do trade with us instead. And Trump's like, uh-oh, I better back down on that. Rory said, keep using that Republican voice. Got it, Rory. I'm fluent in Republican.
Some countries, China, the best example, have used trade barriers as a weapon to hurt the American economy. You said it. God created the world. Everything else is made in China. President Trump decided to try to change this. And he, as we know, has imposed dramatically higher American tariffs on these countries. But then, at least for me, an extraordinary thing happened. We have 195 countries in the world. Probably 40% have come forward, and instead of bowing up and fighting, they've said, we want to lower our tariff. With tariffs.
Okay. That eye for an eye shit doesn't work. There was John Kennedy, Ted Cruz, Mark Wayne Mullen, Katie Britt. I'm trying to remember who else was there. They all went on Fox, and they basically were pleading for Donald Trump to end this trade war. And they had to do it. They have to do it in a way where they're like, Trump's great. It's not his fault. Here again, just look out. I can skip the 84% on tariffs. We did that. Watch. Here was Mark Warner going after the architect of Trump's tariff wars. Again, this was yesterday. So yesterday, Trump and his folks were saying, we will not stop. We will not relent. We will not give in. Today, they gave in.
We have a trade surplus with Australia. We have a free trade agreement. Why? They are an incredibly important national security partner. Why were they whacked with a tariff?
Senator, despite the agreement, they ban our beef, they ban our pork, they're getting ready to impose measures on our digital companies.
With your Greek letter formula, the fact that we have a trade surplus.
We have a global tariff on everyone. We're trying to address the $1.2 trillion deficit that Biden left us with.
I think that answer, sir, You're a much smarter person than that answer. The idea that we are going to whack friend and foe alike, and particularly friends with this level, is both, I think, insulting to the Australians, undermines our national security, and frankly makes us not a good partner going forward. The lack of trust from friends and allies based upon this ridiculous policy that goes into full effect at midnight tonight is extraordinary. I go back to what the market believers believe today is happening. A good day in hospice. I'm afraid if we keep these tariffs in effect, we're looking like an economy that will be in hospice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That went viral. That added pressure. These are all these things that Democrats did, and some Republicans, frankly, did. All of this is why Trump backed down. And I want to point that out. I want to give them their props. Here was James Langford on PBS.
This fact that Speaker Mike Johnson does not have the votes to pass that budget blueprint in the House. What happens next? Are you still confident that it'll get done before the recess?
I'm hopeful it'll get done. The budget blueprint is just that. There's very little detail on it. The way the House writes a budget blueprint is it puts what's called a ceiling. Here's the top amount that we want to achieve. The way the Senate writes a budget blueprint is a floor. We want to do at least this, but we'll go much higher. And I think some in the House are perceiving that the Senate bill is written the same as the House bill. They're accomplishing the exact same thing. To tell you the truth, it feels a little bit like we're arguing about where to be able to lean the ladder against the wall to fix the leaky roof. The problem is not where to lean the ladder. The problem is the leaky roof. This bill, the budget outline, is just that. It's just an outline. It doesn't do anything. It just gets us started in the process. The next step deals with the tax policies, deals with how do we reduce spending, all of those things. That's the one with the detail. And quite frankly, I'm hopeful that we can get to the one that really counts, not this one that's a sheer process document.
I will continue to follow.
Just so we're clear on what they're talking about there. This I honestly, I don't know if I've ever been so discombobulated by an announcement or so unsure about where to go with the show. But what we have, what's going on here in this country is fucking insane. We have Republicans who campaigned on eliminating the deficit, lowering spending, waste, fraud, and abuse. While Elon Musk went out and found a bunch of fake fraud and abuse, most of it he was lying about. The folks in Congress are pushing a bill that increases spending and will increase the deficit. And Republicans are so afraid of Donald Trump that they have to play patty cake with this. They have to be like, can we just, let's try it. We're confident. We love Trump. He knows. I'm sure when he sees this, he'll understand. And they're all having to dance around the fact that none of this makes any sense. There's no math that makes sense here. The only way that this makes sense is if you're just like a catchphrase voter. Like I think somebody earlier said this was the point. The point was to whack China. China's not getting whacked. Like we're getting whacked harder than China. We can throw tariffs on China. China will be fine. You throw tariffs on Americans from Chinese goods. It's not fine. It's not people are losing their businesses. Most of the people who were afraid of tariffs were worried about one country and one country only, and that was China. Most of us are going to be affected from Chinese tariffs, and that's going to increase the cost of goods for most of us. And that's where we're still at because Trump doesn't want to. I guess he doesn't want to admit that he's losing to China. In the weirdest thing I've seen on Congress, this is Tom Tillis. So I guess Tom Tillis, I didn't know this about him. He used to work in consulting. So he would go consult businesses and help businesses that weren't turning a profit. He'd try and streamline. He's got Jamison Greer here, who is Trump's representative on trade policies. And there's two things he does here that I think are really interesting. First, he makes the weirdest, like such a weird analogy. And secondly, he set the table. And I think Tom Tillis had a lot to do with Trump probably backing down because Tom Tillis set the table here yesterday for Republicans to back down and have a fall guy, and the fall guy isn't going to be Trump. The fall guy is going to be this dude, the Jamison Greer. They're going to blame him for all of this. And here's Tom Tillis like laying the groundwork, but also with a weird analogy. Pink says, can someone in the right please get a backbone and stand up for something? Not likely.
I'm not a trade
expert, and I'm not going to question it at this point. I do have a question about, at the end of the day, the other thing in management consulting we like to focus on is this concept of one throat to choke. In other words, when you're finally taking...
When I'm mad at something, I need something to choke. Like let's talk about old timey. I think we could retire that phrase. We need a throat to choke.
You look at a strategy, someone has to own it. And you can't say that it's the president or the vice president. So my first question to you, in this scenario, the decision maker who decided the alla prima approach, who has obviously had to have spent time anticipating what we saw in the markets and some of the pushback, I'm assuming this all got gamed out because it's a novel approach, it needed to be thought out. Whose throat do I get to choke if this proves to be wrong?
It's not going to be the president. It's not going to be the vice president. It's not going to be the person in charge. I'm definitely already ruling them out that it's their fault. So except for the president and the vice president, whose fault is this?
Well, Senator, you can certainly always talk to me, but
are you at the tip of the spear?
Well, I'm at the tip of the spear for certainly.
Did you propose?
Wrong. The president is the tip of the spear. The president instituted these tariffs. Do you see how they're already doing it? Like they're so afraid of Trump that even when Trump is wrong, they're setting the stage to let somebody else take the blame. This is what I think maybe the plan was yesterday. I thought it would take longer than this. Apparently, it took 1 day. It took 1 day for them to convince Trump. But they all went on TV in a coordinated effort. The Republicans were doing stuff behind Trump's back yesterday. And what I'd imagine, they came together and they said, look, we've got to put an end to this, but we've got to do it in a way that Trump doesn't lose his shit because he's a baby. And so what we're going to do is we're going to question people in front of Congress. We're going to make sure that any time failure is mentioned, that we blame them and not the president. And when we go on TV, we're going to praise the president and we're going to attack the policy. But we're, again, going to say that the president knows what he's doing. Here's what I would do, but the president knows best. And they all did this. It was a coordinated effort last night by Republicans. You guys have to do a coup to get you have to trick Donald Trump into doing the right things. That's how much of a fucking lunatic this dude is. They have to set the stage so that they can tell him you're wrong without telling him he's wrong. Because if you tell him he's wrong, he's going to double down. Ken says, so how's it going? The spring bulbs are starting to emerge here on the East Coast. Insert awkward silence here. Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
It's the alla prima approach.
So first of all, I would push back, Senator, just a little bit on this. For now, we've excluded pharmaceuticals and semiconductors to take a different kind of approach.
So let's make it.
And we've excluded you.
That was good, except for then Trump announced that we were going to, just that night, later that night, his tariff guy in the morning is like, we're excluding pharmaceuticals. And later that night, Trump's like, we're putting tariffs on pharmaceuticals. It is so incoherent. How can you have the guy in charge say we're going to put tariffs on or not do it? Trump says we're going to do it. And then they're going to be like, we're going to blame the guy who said we're not going to do it. Okay.
Section 232 and 301, we know particularly Section 232 is still on aluminum. Section 301 is Chinese imports where there's no other provider. I overheard you say that maybe, or I thought I heard you say in response to another question, that for the near term there won't be any exclusions. Is that true of China, where they have said the U.S. is unilaterally bullying and completely groundless and they're going to fight to the end? Are the 232 and 301 tariffs exclusions on the shelves until we get to a reasonable agreement with China? I'm just trying to answer a question that I have several people in North Carolina asking.
So the president, again, is the final decision maker on all of these things, and he has directed that there not be exclusions or
exemptions. There will not be any exclusions on steel, aluminum, or any products that are only manufactured in China for the foreseeable future until China determines what the end is, because they said they're going to fight to the end. Again, I'm just trying to communicate questions that I've asked, so there will be no exclusions. Yes. I won't waste your time asking.
See, that the problem with all of this is that, like, the understanding of your negotiating position. Trump is not a master negotiator. He does not understand when he has leverage and when he doesn't, and that's Jameson Greer is pointing this, like, is proving this. Tom Tillis is correctly saying, like, well, China says they're going to go to the end. And Trump says he's not. Just say if you're Australia and China comes to you and China's like, hey, we'll do trade with you. We'll do trade with you, and we'll do it at better rates than the Americans are offering. We'll do it at 0% tariffs. And maybe Australia's like, okay, cool, we'll consider that deal. They come to Trump and they're like, hey, what are you going to do? And Trump's like, we'll do it at 0% tariffs too. Who would you rather do trade with? The consistent Chinese, the ones that are very consistent with you, or the inconsistent Donald Trump? Just sensibly, take away who you like more. Why would any country want to do trade with Donald Trump at this point? If there is a way for them not to do trade with us, they won't. And Donald Trump overestimated our leverage. The global economy has been growing. China's been narrowing the gap. India has been narrowing the gap. The global economy is growing. And they don't need us in the way that they used to need us. China does. China does right now. But if China replaces us with all these other economies, then we're good. And we'll just be like agrarian. We'll be like this big fucking country where we all farm. Trump doesn't know Trump and Jameson Greer both do not understand their leverage right now. China calls their bluff at every turn. Canada called their bluff. Mexico called their bluff. And their response every time, Mexico, Canada, and now China, what they do is they say, fine, we'll go negotiate other deals. And they go and they negotiate other deals. And if I'm a Canadian right now, do I really want to trade with the United States or the EU? The EU, of course. They don't have the level of like patriotism and love for Donald Trump that you have. You think that other people like Donald Trump like you so that they'll just ignore batshit things, but they won't. They don't want to trade with people like this. You would never do business with somebody like Donald Trump. None of you would. The worst advice you could ever give anybody is do business with Donald Trump. Go look at the string of bankruptcies he left behind him. Go look at the amount of contractors who were left holding the bag because Trump didn't want to pay them what he owed them. There's a reason Trump doesn't build anything anymore. There's a reason that all of his development deals are licensing deals. And inside those agreements, they're saying, you guys aren't in charge of the build, of the development. You're just the name. That's it. It's because golf architects won't do business with him. Contractors won't do business with him. American banks won't do business with him. He fucks over everyone. Look at his last vice president. How'd things go for his last vice president? It ended with Trump supporters wearing Trump gear saying, hang Mike Pence. How'd things go when Rudy Giuliani got involved with Donald Trump? Lost his law license, lost all his money. In fact, virtually every attorney that came to defend Donald Trump has lost their law license, or at least had their law license suspended. They've all been served with lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Peter Navarro went to prison. Michael Cohen went to prison. Steve Bannon went to prison. It is not good for you to do business with Donald Trump. Nobody, and rightfully, like Donald Trump's like, nobody ever gets the best of me. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that maybe. But that's just because you don't pay them. You don't do trade fairly. So why would anybody want to do trade with us? If you were a contractor, you would not work with Donald Trump, even if you loved him. You would not do work for him. Almost every state in the country is owed money from the Trump campaign because they don't pay their bills. I think Tucson, Arizona, they own like $200,000. This guy just doesn't pay his bills. He doesn't fulfill anything that he promises. He just moves on to the next thing. And because it hasn't affected you guys so far, you like it. You like that he feels untouchable and that nothing sticks to him. But it only doesn't stick to him because you guys keep voting for him. But the rest of the world doesn't love him like that. They don't love you like that, chasing that farewell tour. They'll just do trade with somebody else.
Asking for him. That's the main reason I wanted to ask the question. So again, I'm just trying to get my head around the logic of an alla prima approach, and I'm waiting to I'm waiting to see it be successful. But it just seems like we've decided to begin a trade war on all fronts, and that's okay if the person who thought this through has an answer for why you go after partners that we have a very long storied relationship with.
All right. So there's Tom Tillis. He laid the ground for what happened today. So I guess that's what we're doing now, is we're going back, we're recapping how Republicans and Democrats put enough pressure on Donald Trump that he would back down. Jen's got some announcements. What's up, Jen? How many attorneys has he even had? Yeah, insane amount of attorneys. They all wind up with sanctions.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be his attorney or work with him in general.
Yeah.
He's not a good business person. So I see lots of people in the comments. If you disagree with Jay, there is a way to come up and talk. You disagree. What you do is if you look at the Venmo on the screen, you see Jen, Jenn, Dub, DUBB, the number 1. That is my Discord username. You DM me on Discord, I can bring you on and talk to Jay directly. That's how it's done. So if you guys disagree, want to prove him wrong, that's how you do it. I'll see the top left-hand corner. This is our job. We do this each day. We need to knock out that gift goal by the end of the show. We've got about an hour and 45 minutes left. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, helps keep the lights on, keeps the show going. If you haven't subscribed to us on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. On YouTube, just if you guys subscribe over there, we've also got 4 different memberships. If you guys also could like the stream, hit the the red heart. I don't know if it's red, actually it's black one, the heart in the corner. That helps push the stream out. And also check our other link tree. We're on most socials and we have some merchandise. If you want to check that out there. So same thing as like I said, try to help to get a goal. And if you want to debate, that's how you do so. DM me on Discord. So I got a couple new jokes, but it's trying to figure it out. The only vampire who matters to me lives on Sesame Street. The rest don't count.
I knew where that one was going. I was ahead of that one. Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. What do we have? We got 2-ish hours left. Awesome. We're on track for that gift goal. Thanks everybody for being here. It's great to have you. I'm unkempt. I haven't heard unkempt before. I like that one. All right. This is sorry. This is a bad headline I wrote here. Sometimes I think okay. This still relevant. This is a small business owner trying to figure out how it is that she went from ordering something from China to having her business disappear overnight. And it looks like Trump hasn't fixed this yet. What do we say to this person? What's the excuse? After this video, I want to know, what do we say to this person? How do we justify what's happening to this person?
I have over $30,000 worth of product on a ship coming from China to the US right now. I've literally been having a panic attack all day long. I genuinely don't know what I'm going to do. I don't understand how Trump is able to just say tariffs on China are going to be over 100%. And he's not even giving any time for business owners to like make adjustments or cancel orders. Like, I paid for this product months ago and it has been on a ship for weeks.
So let's just be clear on this. She paid $30,000. She prepaid for her shipment. And this just goes again to show that Donald Trump doesn't know how tariffs work. Because Donald Trump said that China pays tariffs, right? Well, they don't. So she's got a $30,000 shipment that's on a boat coming here to her, and she's already paid it. And now she's not sure what to do because she doesn't have the money to pay the tariff, and she can't get the product without the tariff. So obviously this isn't hurting China. They already sold the goods. So this is only hurting Americans. But if you're somebody who imports from China, you're the only people being hurt right now. China's not. These Chinese companies already have the money for these orders. They are pre-orders. So you just have a bunch of Americans sitting here waiting for goods to come in from China and trying to decide what to do. Because a lot of times, too, you order something in, you may have pre-sold this stuff. Some of these orders are already prepaid for. Now you got to go back to your customers and be like, hey, would you mind 100% markup on this? I've got to increase it 100%. I know you agreed to pay one price, but now I've got to give you 100% markup. Or do I have enough money to just eat this one so my customers aren't pissed?
Like, I can't just on a dime say, never mind, take it back. I already paid for the fabric. I already paid to make them have the product. I just, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, is this product just going to arrive in the U.S. and they're going to say, you owe us another $30,000 in tariffs? Because I don't have that. So what do? Do I send the product back, but then I don't have any product to sell, which means the business is over, and I would have to pay for shipping, which would be several thousand more dollars to send the product back to China. I just feel so angry. Like, I have worked so fucking hard to start my own business and live the American dream. And, you know, I was so burnt out in corporate America, and I just wanted to be able to do my own thing and start my own business and take a chance on myself. And now it seems like that's just over. Like, I'm just going to lose tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know what to say.
And Trump, if he cared about Americans, he could have put in a carve out for this. He could say, like, existing orders, if you made your order before we announced the tariffs do not apply to you. So again, like, it's a lack of understanding of what he's doing, or a lack of compassion, or a lack of care. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If he really wants to hurt China with these tariffs, if the economic theory that him putting on tariffs means people will buy less stuff from China and therefore it will hurt China, fine. Carve out a niche for people who have already ordered, so they're not hit with a surprise bill. But they didn't do that. Nobody in this administration thought, oh, what about the people who've already ordered things? They didn't even think about it. And it's not, I don't think it's on purpose. I think it's because they're dumb. I think it's because they don't understand any of this, and they don't think about any of this. And the reason that they're rolling out this policy is because a guy named Peter Navarro said, hey, I've got an expert, and that expert is me, and we should do it this way. And they're like, yeah, fuck it, do it. I disagree with this tariff war. I'm not a big fan of the blanket tariffs on China. But at the very least, if you're going to do it, and you can protect American people from losing their businesses, fucking do it, because it only hurts them. It doesn't affect China at all. They've already made the money from this. It's already on the way. So you tell me, MAGA, where the fuck is the care for these people? And how many of these people do you think exist? And how many of these people do you think are cool losing their businesses and be like, I'll still support him? And what do you think their friends and family are going to say when they're like, yeah, I had a business, it was going great, and then Trump slapped these tariffs on that only hurt me, that didn't hurt China at all? How do you think that plays for the American public? Not everybody's a fucking cuck. Not everybody. A lot of you are, and I applaud that. I like your kinks. Our kinks are part of who we are, and we don't kink shame here. But not everybody is. Not everybody's really willing to just like be like, oh, I don't care if American people lose their jobs and their businesses for no fucking reason, for something that could have been fixed as simple as just like carving out a carve out. If you ordered your product before the day of the tariffs, you don't have to pay the tariffs because it doesn't hurt China. Yeah, heaven forbid we do that, right? Maybe they'll add that now. Maybe they'll carve out an exception now. I hope they do. But even if they do it now, I gotta ask, like, why aren't they asking these questions beforehand? You guys think that Trump's in it for you? How come he's not in it for you? How come he's not doing anything for you guys? If he's really doing this for you to make America better for you, how come you guys keep getting left out? El Dizzle said Trump for prison 2025. IRTP family. I also have Nancy says virtual throat punch for MAGA and Trump. Jackie said, hey, homie. And then Christine, thank you for the advice. I did read it to myself, but thank you for that advice. That's I'm going to look for that person. I'm looking forward to that. All right. Let me update this too on the next one. All right. I think that was 15. Here is Senator Maggie Hassan. And Maggie Hassan is saying, again, this is the incoherence, because yesterday the Trump representative speaking before Congress is saying, we're not going to stop. We're not going to back down. We're all in on this strategy. And today they walked it back. It's incoherent. And that might not mean anything for you as Republicans, but it means a lot to our trading partners. It means a lot to our trading partners that this can happen yesterday morning and today we have a whole new policy. Nobody wants that level of inconsistency.
Prices for families. It's also causing huge losses in Americans' retirement savings. Ambassador Greer, would the administration reverse course if the president's tariffs led to 10% inflation?
Senator, the president is fixed in his purpose. This trade deficit and the offshoring and loss of manufacturing jobs is something that's persisted for too long, and it's dangerous.
I understand your justification for the policy, even though there are some very contradictory justifications coming out of the administration. But my question is, what's the inflation rate where you guys would reverse course? 10% inflation that I just asked you about, that is higher inflation than we saw at the peak of the COVID economic crisis. But you aren't going to say here today that you would reverse course even if you created inflation as high as we had at the peak of the COVID economic crisis.
I think the most serious inflation we saw was during the Biden administration. When we did tariffs in the first term, inflation went down. I just don't. It's not going to be a one-to-one. Inflation about how much money you're putting into the supply.
Well, let's just be really clear that the Trump administration is here today to say that even if inflation hits Americans' pocketbooks at 10% because of these tariffs, then the Trump administration is still going to go charging ahead. So, Ambassador, would the administration reverse course if the president's tariffs caused a 50% stock market crash, which would hurt Americans' retirement savings even more than they've been hurt in the last 10 days or so?
Senator, the fundamentals of the economy are so strong. We had 228,000 jobs last month. We have,
pre-tariffs,
9,000 additional manufacturing jobs from.
Pre-tariffs. How do we get all these new manufacturing jobs despite that with tariffs not kicking in? If tariffs are bringing back manufacturing jobs, how the fuck do we have new manufacturing jobs before the tariffs kicked in? Chips and science. Infrastructure. That's why. The jobs are already coming back. The jobs that we want to come back, we've already passed the legislation for that. We did it bipartisanly. I'm not going to say, let's not even give Joe Biden credit for it. He just signed the fucking bill. The people that we elect to Congress actually did something good for the American people and wrote a bipartisan bill to bring manufacturing jobs back. And now Trump's representative is sitting in front of Congress saying it's already going so great. Yeah, we know. Yeah, we know we were already doing this. So your tariffs don't make any fucking sense, do they? If manufacturing jobs came back, if we had 9,000 new manufacturing jobs, which, by the way, manufacturing represents 8% of our employment, so that's significant. 9,000 is relatively significant. If they're already coming back, why the fuck are we going to slap tariffs on? What's the point? What's the point? If Trump says he secured funding from people already to bring back manufacturing jobs. He says he has secured $7 trillion to bring back American manufacturing, and we don't have tariffs in place. So what are the tariffs for? It works without the tariffs, but we somehow need the tariffs? Someone explain it, please.
So again, your answer is even if the stock market crashes 50%, which is how much the stock market crashed in the Great Recession, you're not going to say here today that you would reverse course even.
That's crazy. Someone said the Honda plant where I live is constantly hiring and offering $3,000 if you stay there for at least 65 days because it cannot keep workers. No one wants to work in a factory anymore. Yeah, no shit. And you know what we could do? We could just buy cars from overseas. They're better anyways. Yeah, we could just do that.
Even if you crash the stock market and harm retirement savings as drastically as happened during the Great Recession in 2007.
Senator, your hypotheticals are not consistent with the history we have seen with the use of tariffs.
My hypotheticals are based on the fact that a lot of Americans are looking at their 401ks today and wondering how much of a lifestyle change they are going to have or whether they're going to be able to retire when they plan to because of the recklessness and haphazard nature of the Trump administration's imposition of tariffs.
I want to talk about one other aspect of economics that I don't think a lot of people are discussing. I may have a clip of it today. I can't remember whether I have the clip or not. But what happens to these times in financial uncertainty? People just tighten up. People who are good with their money, or people who are concerned or aware of their money, they tighten up their purse strings. I can tell you, like at least on our end, you'll see less people who donate, and we certainly understand that because people are concerned, like how long am I going to need to stretch my dollar for? So that means that economic growth slows. Even if we just keep playing this roller coaster game, the stock market isn't the ultimate picture. It's not what we want to look at entirely. The stock market reflects what people think is going to happen. It's a prediction. And it's impossible to predict what's going to happen with Trump because he keeps moving the goalposts. He keeps moving the objective. He keeps changing what he's planning on doing. Now Americans are uncertain. I don't even know if I want to buy the dip. Like I have some stocks. I mess around with some stocks, and I cover politics enough that like there are some things that you can watch and you're like, now's a good time to buy, now's a good time to sell. I do that enough. But I'm not even really sure, like, because it's not following any sort of economic pattern. To me, it feels like gambling. I used to like sports betting, and then I did sports betting as a job, and then I stopped liking sports betting. And when it stopped being my job, I don't really sports bet anymore, because what I did is I did it when I could have an advantage. But when you learn the ins and outs of sports betting or trading stocks, you recognize that like the people who do it well, they have a statistical advantage. It's not because they're smarter. It's because they've discovered patterns or flaws in a system that allow them to get the upper hand. Right now, nobody has the upper hand, and nobody really knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So this is going to slow economic investment, and it's going to slow economic recovery, and it's going to slow the economy. Nobody's going out and making a big purchase right now. Nobody. And I could even recognize, like, a part of that would be like, I've heard MAGA say this, well, that's good, because now if there's less people going out and buying houses or cars, like that'll drop the price of housing and cars. Okay, but you guys are mad at the Fed for raising rates that does the same thing. Yes, when people are slow to put money into the economy, you adjust, and we want to stimulate. But what we could just do, what we absolutely could do, is we could just do things that are good for the American people. Imagine the amount of economic liberty people would have if healthcare was paid by the taxpayer. So when you get your check every month, you're not worried about like, okay, I do need to set away a significant amount of this money just in case I break my leg and I've got to get knee surgery and I've got a $12,000 deductible. I've got to set that money aside. So that's got to sit there, and that can't circulate through the economy. Well, if you don't have a deductible or a copay, that $12,000 that you've set aside that's meant for emergencies can now be invested. It can be used for a vacation. You might buy more goods. Maybe you'll go out to eat more, and that stimulates your local economy. Maybe you go out and you head down, you get some new rims for your car, and that stimulates the economy. Uncertainty is not good for the economy. The idea behind a solid, stable economy is that people are stable and that the economic times are stable. But Trump doesn't do that. He doesn't do stability. He operates best in chaos, because in chaos, the person who stays calm and the person who refuses to back down generally wins. And he's looking at it from that way, like, I'm going to win. That's all he knows, is I'm going to win. And that has been good for him. It's good for him, but it's not good for us. Trump winning isn't necessarily good for us. And that's what laid out yesterday. And I hope that Republicans can get back to some understanding of, stop trying to break everything. The problems that we have economically come from a lack of stability. And if people are more comfortable, if people are more stable, if they feel like 5 years from now they're going to be able to afford groceries, they will spend more money. If they feel like 5 years from now they might be homeless, they will save that money. And most Americans right now, the overwhelming majority of Americans right now, are fearful of their economic future. That's not good. We've got to make a change to that. I'm hoping Republicans are beating Trump on this, but goddamn, does he have bad economic policies? Here was Bernie Sanders yesterday, asking the question that we all should be asking, and I wish you Trump supporters would ask yourselves this same question. The question is, why, if Donald Trump is so smart and he's so good, why is he always lying?
President Trump said, Mr. Greer, that he had no choice in terms of Canada, and I live 50 miles away from the Canadian border. He had no choice but to bypass Congress and to impose an emergency 25% tariff on Canada to stop, quote, the massive, end quote, amount of fentanyl and, quote, the millions and millions of undocumented immigrants coming from the northern border. Unfortunately, that's a lie. The truth is that the U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported just 43 pounds of fentanyl was seized at the Canadian border last year, representing just 0.2% of the total. Further, he said he talked about millions and millions of undocumented immigrants coming from Canada. In fact, last year there were 24,000 people, not millions and millions. First question, really, we can argue about tariffs, but why does the president have to lie all of the time in order to make his point?
So, Senator, I would just refute that when the president is talking about the nature of the emergency we have. I mean,
Could you talk a little bit closer into the mic, please?
Certainly. Senator, I would just say, I think you need to look at what the president issued in terms of the order for the legal basis for what we're doing, right? I mean, the president...
Yeah, guys, look at the stuff that we write for the president and don't listen to what he says. He's not lying, because if you look at the stuff that we write, that he reads off of it, or usually doesn't read. Actually, he has somebody else there, like, reading the executive order. If you read what we write, then he's not lying. But if you listen to him, then yeah, he's lying.
And very rightly hit on this issue of fentanyl migration coming from northern southern borders, and it's a real emergency.
Drugs are a real emergency. 0.2%. You can then argue illegal drugs come from every country in the world. If you declare that as an emergency, you're giving the president of the United States unbelievable power.
Yeah. That's why he really did it, though. He just wanted power. So he lies about this fentanyl emergency, which, again, it's an emergency, but it has nothing to do with Canada. We have to get Americans to stop wanting fentanyl. If there was not a bunch of people that were using fentanyl, we wouldn't have the problem here. We have to do something different. And crackdowns have never worked. This going in heavy-handed with the police doesn't work unless you turn us completely into a police state. That's the only time. And eventually, once you have a police state, and this is what El Salvador has done. El Salvador, as they're filling up their prisons, they just went in and they're like, we're tired of crime. We're going to crack down hard on crime. And basically, if you do any crime, you're going to be in this shitty prison. And people, like, at first, like, that definitely knocks the crime rate down. But eventually, people are like, you know what? I don't really think that guy should be in prison for 20 years because he stole a loaf of bread. I think that maybe we're being a little hard. And then people eventually revolt. And that's the balance that you have to strike. And Trump only knows one thing, authoritarianism. It's the only way he rules, which is why he's up there telling the Republicans last night, do what I say. Don't remember this. He's like, don't be pussies. Don't cave. What was the tweet yesterday? let's see. What was it like? Don't be. What was his tweet? I should have put it up. He tweeted something about like, don't be cowards. Where is it? No, that's not it. Where is it? Great time to buy. I'm trying to find it. Be cool. That's what he said. Here it is. Be cool. Everything's going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever. Everybody just chill. Relax. And then the next day he just changes. He just flips his policy completely. Why didn't he just tell you he was going to do that? Why is it always such a guessing game? Here's Maria Bartiromo. Now here again, we got Trump folks here saying he's not going to give in. He's not going to cave. Here's Maria Bartiromo yesterday in front of the stock ticker that's dropping. She was pissed.
How far are you willing to take this in terms of this soft war with China? We've got Chinese stocks trading on U.S. exchanges. U.S. investors are buying those stocks, and that's helping China fund its military. Let's face it. Are you willing to go that far to remove Chinese stocks from U.S. exchanges?
Maria, I think everything's on the table. We are putting in process export controls for high value security related goods. We are talking about the export capital controls in terms of, as you said, a blacklist of things that U.S. Whether pension funds, endowments, investors should not be investing in to fund the Chinese military machine. But that'll be President Trump's decision. And you know what, Maria, at the end of the day, President Trump, Chairman Xi have a very good personal relationship. And I am confident that this will be resolved at the highest levels.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. But yesterday we weren't backing down. Today we backed down. Thank you, Asa Sophia, said joining the dollar train, and Marianne, thank you as well. Hey, Howdy said I was going to get a newer car, but now I can't. Just have to keep fixing my 20-year-old car. Yeah, same. I hate my car. I made a terrible car purchase where I sold a more expensive car because I don't drive very often. I'm like, I'm just gonna get like the cheapest car I can because I never drive it. And I bought the cheapest car I could, and it turns out there's like a defect in that car, and it's easy to steal. And so my insurance is really, really expensive for like the cheapest. But like my insurance is more expensive on a car that's literally like a fourth of the price of the car that I had before. And so I'm also looking for a new cheap car that doesn't cost a fortune to insure, but I'm waiting on that. Let's see here. This is her with Scott Besson again yesterday. We lost $6 trillion in market value last week. It looks like we'll get most of that back on this. I mean, the market's going to recover and probably go up from where it was, I would imagine, as you're going to see a bunch of people investing in a fake bull market. I think it's a good idea. Just for anybody, if these tariffs are going to come back into place, it might be a good idea to short some of these stocks. But again, I'm not a financial advisor.
$6 trillion in market value loss in a week. You're talking about CEOs now unwilling to give guidance for 2025. Is there a response or a backup plan for what seems to be corporate America shutting down corporate activity? IPOs put on the shelf, M&A deals put on the shelf, CEOs not giving guidance. I spoke with one CEO last night. He said, we're cutting our capital expense budget. I'm cutting my travel budget. I'm doing everything I can in terms of cutting so I don't have to cut jobs yet. But that is, of course, on the horizon because we're...
By the way, somebody just said Trump's approval rating went up. It's 54% now. No, it went down today. You're mixing it up. His disapproval rating is 54%. He's at 44%. This is not helping.
Cutting capital spending. What do you do in that regard in the coming weeks and months as we see more CEOs talk that way?
Well, I think in the coming months, CEOs won't have to talk that way. And what can we do in the coming weeks is, we have opened this process of negotiations, country by country. It's going to be a bespoke, tailored process for each country. And as we strike these trade deals, I think that we will see greater and greater certainty.
So what he's saying there when he's saying that like we're going to have negotiated deals with everybody. We're going to go through country by country. We're going to negotiate deals and we're going to have fair trade deals. You could have done that. You didn't need to crash the market to do that. You just could have done it. All of this stuff, all this shit that's happening right now, they could have just done it. And I think it's possible. I think it's entirely possible that part of this was to distract from the fact that they are preparing to go to war with Iran, and we may be at war with Iran very soon. Maybe that's why they did it. But all of this shit that they did, crashing the economy, creating uncertainty, they didn't need to do any of it. I think Trump wants them to think they're negotiating with a crazy person, which would be a fine thing to do, which wouldn't even be the worst thing to do if we had the leverage that he thinks we have. It's just it is just misunderstood leverage, overestimated leverage. Really going to affect none of us, and we're going to have wiped out all that money. We're going to have all that uncertainty for no reason. These countries aren't going to negotiate deals that hurt them, by the way. And if you look at trade, and if you look at the tariffs that they've put on on our products, for the most part, they make sense. When you go by country and you look at what they're tariffing, they make sense to protect their own industry. So they're not going to remove that tariff and kill the industry in that country. What they'll likely do is find a new trading partner. Because they're not going to let the Americans just come in and take over a sector of their economy because they want to. They're not going to kill jobs for their own population. Why would they? So they'll just trade with somebody else. So any negotiation we have is going to be found in margins that these countries can justify to their population. So maybe there's some places we can adjust 2 or 3%, maybe 4 or 5%, maybe. But most of these tariffs have already been negotiated in good faith. They purposely want fair trade agreements so that we can trade with each other. It benefits them. This idea that we're being ripped off is only because Donald Trump thinks deficit bad, surplus good, and that's not true. And he looks at everything through that lens. If we have a trade deficit, it's just bad. It's simply not true that's how trade works. Trade deficits can be great. Let's see. This one is crazy. This was Fox and Friends. I think this was this morning. It might have been yesterday morning. Do we have a date on this? No, 3:05. This was yesterday afternoon. Listen to this story told on Fox. Watch these three hosts here sit quietly and in shock while they read out what happened to a small business owner, which again has not been reversed. This story still exists. Nothing that happened today makes this any different.
There's an item in the New York Post that we all have in front of us. It's an exclusive story, and it talks about how with these 104% tariffs that went into effect, we think that China is going to have to pay for it, but it tells a story of a special needs toy importer. And when the tariffs went into effect at midnight, his tariff, he's been paying a tariff because he gets stuff from China, $26,000 a year. His tariff.
Like Trump. We like the country. You think the country is Trump. We don't. That's the disconnect here. I like living here. I would rather not move. I like living in the United States. I don't like a dumb president.
Down part of his business. He tried to make the toys in the United States, but the tariff on that, his most popular item, went from $0 to $17 at midnight. And what he told the New York Post is people don't understand the tariff situation. They think just foreign countries are paying for the tariffs. That's not true. Half of the tariffs are being paid for by U.S.-based companies. Yeah. So when you look at the...
All of them, by the way. I don't know what that guy was saying, like China's paying half. This, again, didn't need to happen. They could have given a carve-out for this guy. You had an existing deal in place. He will shut down his business because of these tariffs. He cannot continue his business because of these tariffs. And who will pick up his business as a toy manufacturer? Who's going to pick it up? A big corporation, maybe Amazon. Amazon's just going to go and be like, oh, there's a market here? Oh, I can pick this up now? And Amazon's going to have a carve-out. Trump for sure is going to give Amazon some sort of carve-out. Even Amazon this morning announced they're not going to order from China until Trump gives them a carve-out. But that's who's going to pick up this guy's business. So small business killed, massive corporation picks it up. That guy's got to go find a new job now. Hopefully he can find a job that's better than his business. And now he doesn't work for himself. For what reason? What's the benefit to the American people? None of you know. This is day, I don't know how many days we've been on YouTube. I have to beg you guys to come up and discuss this. And none of you will. And what is that? I just want to know what that says about you. What does it say about you that you're going to sit in the comments and you're going to call people names and call soy boy, and none of you want to come up and discuss it? It says you don't have an answer. It says nobody's given you the script yet for the answer. Are you guys tired of it? Like, when are they going to give you the script? When are you going to find out what Trump's doing here? Do we know? Is it once a month? Does it show up? Once a month? Oh, the wise YouTubers. You're here, bitch. You're here listening to the wise YouTubers. If you don't think people on YouTube have brains, go somewhere else. Here's what a 50% tariff is going to do to local and small businesses. This is a great explanation.
If another 50% tariff goes on China at the end of this week, I definitely cannot move my product from China to the US. Effectively, when my product lands in the US, I will have paid 100% more for it, plus shipping. It will be absolutely zero profit from me and probably a loss. So my product's going to stay in China. It's going to sit in my manufacturer's warehouse for as long as they will accept that. I may have to just dispose of it. I won't make any money. The US won't make any tariffs. My Chinese manufacturer still gets paid. And I'm abandoning any future projects. This is what I mean when it starts to wind down trade. Tariff income is a hit, then it's a loss. Make sure you follow to keep up to date on this.
Like that 50 years of offshoring cannot be fixed overnight. You're right, which is why Congress introduced a bill, and ever since the Infrastructure Act and the Chips and Science Act, we have been reshoring American manufacturing, and it's not happening overnight. It's happening month by month. We're already doing it. These tariffs are not fixing any of that. There are zero manufacturing jobs that have come back from tariffs. Why are you not okay with, like, you're like, it's going to be slow. It's going to be slow growth. We're doing it. We're already doing the slow growth. You weren't okay with it then. Like, oh, we don't have all the jobs back now. Chips and Science Act doesn't fucking work because overnight we didn't get all these jobs back. And now you're like, oh, guys, it takes time. It's going to take time. We're already doing it. We're already addressing this. And by the way, for the people that say like, oh, you guys like child labor law, we've also done that. It's been liberals, it's been progressives who have been pressuring members of Congress to pass bills to say that you can't go over to China and get slave labor and child labor. And so we've been putting pressure on China for 2 decades now. And it's less and less slave labor. And China's doing more and more every single year to reduce the amount of unfair labor. Yes, all of this shit takes time. You can't be on the side of this takes time and also on the side of do it now. Do it now. Tariffs now. No warning. You take this patient attitude when Trump does something and it's not working. But when everybody else in the country, when the Republicans and Democrats come together to pass CHIPS and Science Act, and it is working, it's not fast enough for you. You guys keep saying, well, you don't like America. You guys don't like America. You don't know about America. It's not even like it. You just want Trump to win, and you want us all to agree with you that Trump is good, because that's all you know. You just Trump's good. You guys need to get it, and we're going to show up every day, and we're going to fight until you think that Trump is good. And we're going to call you names until you say Trump is good. You won't discuss the policy. You won't discuss how it affects people. It's just Trump is good. So we'll keep talking. But not everybody is like you. There are a lot of sensible people here there are a lot of sensible people who voted for Trump. They might not be sensible on some of the issues we like, but they're going to be sensible when it comes to their pocketbook. Is this... I already played this one, actually. All right, let me go to the next one. How much time do we have? About 1 hour and 10 minutes left. There we are. Where are we at on the gift goal? We're about halfway done, aren't we? Yeah, about halfway done. Thank you guys so much. And just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. So if you are able to contribute to our gift goal every day, that's what we need to do to keep the lights on here. So if you can donate, that'd be great. We have PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, and of course, Super Chats over here on YouTube.
We're going to probably have someone in to have a conversation with you. I just sent them in. So I was going to actually mention before you have to cover the gift goal. And then if you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so. I should be hopping in any second. So.
Okay. Great. Sounds good. I'll update that then. I'll remove this. It looks like we've got somebody to talk to. I'll talk to the chat for a minute. What's going on in the chat? Shooting the economy in the foot, try to get them to come begging to treat their footage. Yeah. When is demanding fair trade after realizing the U.S. has been taken advantage of a bad thing? Nobody's been able to explain to me Savage USA, and this is what this is why I want to talk. And I asked, we had debates last night. Nobody's been able to explain how we're being taken advantage of. Everybody just said it's always the same art. How are we being taken advantage of? And they say we have a trade deficit. That's not being taken advantage of. In fact, most of the time, the person with the deficit is the one taking advantage. They're using somebody else for either cheaper labor, cheaper supplies, a better deal. How is it that if we pay less for something, we're being taken advantage of? That doesn't make any sense to me. And this is why Donald Trump dumbing down trade to deficits and surpluses is counterproductive. Because he has all of you guys believing that having a trade deficit is a bad thing. And it's just frankly, it's just not true. Having a trade deficit has benefited us massively. It's what's allowed us to grow economically. It's what's allowed us to focus on other sectors and not having to manufacture all of our own goods. And we get it for a cheaper price. I've seen no evidence of any country that is taking advantage of us. I see a lot of evidence that we're taking advantage of other countries. Right now, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, even though there's no evidence that you're taking advantage of us, we're now going to take advantage of you. We now need tariff rates to be lower, and you have to let us bring more of our goods into your country. So we raise the cost of goods. We take shortcuts. A lot of the people that were in front of Congress yesterday were talking about beef. That's like a big Republican talking point right now. Is it like Australia doesn't take our beef? They don't want our beef. And this is the irony of this is like you have the MAGA movement, the Make Americans Healthy Again movement, and those people are saying we shouldn't eat we shouldn't have all this processed food. We shouldn't have we need to have free range chickens. We need to have raw milk. You should have organic beef. You shouldn't be injecting steroids into our cattle to make them bigger. There's shit in our food that we shouldn't eat. Other countries don't allow this. And those same people, that same party is like, hey, Australia, take our fucking steroid beef. If you don't take our steroid beef, then fuck you. Why would they take our beef? Why would any country take food from the United States? We all oh, hey.
It looks like they're taking their time, so if you got a shorter stuff, I don't know when they're
Sure. Yeah, just let me know. Okay, thank you. I just again, none of it makes sense. None of it's beneficial for us. I think we should import everybody else's beef. That'd be great. Like if we know anything about the American farming industry, it's that for centuries, American farmers, family farms, have done everything they can to supply local markets and keep people fed. And eventually a bunch of people who graduated from big schools with big economics degrees said, hey, how come we're not getting any of this money from the farmers? We want some of that agricultural money. And so they went in and they built these big facilities with private investment, and they started underselling farmers. And then they started putting things into our food so that they can genetically modify our food, and then they could outproduce the farmers. A genetically modified tomato looks a lot better than just a tomato that you would grow in your own garden. It's bigger, it's brighter, it's plump. And so they're like, well, we'll figure this out. We have all this money. We'll just undercut these farmers. And then we undercut farmers. That's why farming has been dying in this country. Good people who didn't poison their food, who didn't genetically modify their food, have been run out by capitalists, by people, by private equity, by people who went to Harvard and Yale and Stanford and went into, because they think they need to be making money off of everything. And so American farmers have been forced to do one of two things: sell their farm or hope that their state gives them a subsidy. And states have given subsidies, and the federal government gives subsidies. And now we have to subsidize these farmers because we allowed capitalism to dictate our food. And now you have farmers who just can't compete with these massive corporations. And during all this time, when we put tariffs and people slap retaliatory tariffs on us, it will be American farmers. It will be small businesses. It'll be family farms. Those are the ones that are going to go under. And those farms will then be bought up by Tyson Foods and ConAgra and all these massive corporations, and then they'll do the same shit. And eventually, just corporations will own everything. That's what they want. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why we keep pretending that like they have our best interests. They just want everything. They want if you're a business owner and you're here today, they want your business. If you make a product, they want it. If you work for a small or medium-sized business, they want your business. They don't like the fact that you're able to make $1 without them. So no, it doesn't make sense for us to try and force the shit we don't want in our own country on other countries and then call it unfair. How about we just stop letting corporations dictate our trade policy? Why don't we let a few corporations fail? Why don't we let Walmart fail? Why don't we what if we just forced a minimum wage on Walmart, a living wage? What if we just forced Walmart to establish a living wage? What would that do? Let's walk through that together while we're waiting for this next guest. What would happen if Walmart had to pay $20 an hour? Republicans in the chat, where are we at? What would happen? Let's say I've got a Walmart. I've got 2 Walmarts within 10 minutes. If Walmart here, if we went to $20 an hour, by the way, Walmart here is $16 an hour, and they're functioning just fine. Minimum wage here is $16 an hour. They're not closing down. Walmart in Alabama, it was $7.25. I don't know what your minimum wage is there. I'm just guessing that red state has a low minimum wage. Let's call it the federal minimum wage. Walmart exists there too. But let's just say we force Walmart to pay a living wage. What are they going to do? Eventually, maybe we get to a wage where Walmart shuts down. Eventually, we get there, or prices increase. But what happens if prices increase for Walmart? If prices increase for Walmart, maybe we can bring in some competition. Maybe you have a level playing field. The one thing that a privately owned, like a local grocery store, doesn't have to deal with is paying investors. They don't have to worry about their stock price. If you really wanted to make it a level playing field, make it so that Walmart has to choose between their investors and their workers. And if they choose their investors, then suddenly you, as a local grocery owner, Suddenly you're playing on an equal playing field, and you can beat Walmart by having a better store, better customer service, fresher produce. You suddenly have an advantage that you didn't have before. That's a level playing field. What if we just stopped allowing these corporations to dictate everything? But we can't get Republicans on board with that because you guys have been conditioned to believe that these types.
Attorney bill coming in today. Doesn't look like it. He asked if I was your wife, and my response was ew, no.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It just ew. Anyway. And then he's asking, do we believe in the word of God? And I said, basically, ew, no, on that one too. So
how many more callers? Who is it? What's their name in the YouTube chat or Twitch chat? Do you know?
Anyway, he hasn't been in the comments for a second. He's not. He says he's work.
Okay.
I'm just clarifying if he's available in the next hour before the show wraps up, but I would just move on. So,
all right. All right, cool. Do you believe in the word of God? That's a crazy thing to ask somebody. Like, do you believe in the Bible? Because if not, none of my arguments are going to make sense. Yes, listen, be a happy camper. I have no problems with tariffs. I think other countries should be able to tariff us, and we should be able to tariff them. It should just make sense. Ultimately, the goal should be of our government to use tariffs in a way that benefit us. And part of using tariffs in a way that benefit us also has to weigh in trade our trade negotiations. So the tariff has to make sense for us and them, or they'll stop doing trade with us. So it needs to make sense for Americans, and it needs to make sense for the people importing it. If we what I'm a little bit nervous about right now is that MAGA folks, the people that believe Donald Trump, are 100% comfortable with tariffs that are only hurting us, tariffs that aren't hurting anybody else. And you guys are okay with Americans suffering because you believe that somehow that eventually it's going to make you richer or make us richer or make things better. But it doesn't. None of this is helping us. That's why Trump just eliminated all these tariffs, by the way. And he thinks he can negotiate with China. So I think what Trump's going to, Trump now and America now, we're in a position now where we're scrambling. We have to go to all these other countries and we have to say, okay, here we're going to give you a better deal than China. Do you understand that all these other countries now have the leverage? We've handed over all the leverage to them. And the only reason we're holding these tariffs on China is to try and maintain some sort of leverage on China. Nobody that I know of outside of libertarians are against tariffs. I don't know if communists are against tariffs. I assume they are because they're not for government. But libertarians are the only people I really know of, a group of people who are against tariffs. Conservatives aren't, liberals aren't, lefties aren't, socialists aren't. Nobody's against tariffs. They just have to be used correctly. Right? Like I'm not against zippers, but I don't want to zip my nuts up in them. I'm anti zippers that shock me. You know what I mean? Like we just have to use them correct. I like zippers, but not if you zip my ear up. Right? Just use them correctly. Not everything is just like a tariff isn't just good or bad. A tariff is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good things or bad things. And Trump doesn't seem to understand that very well. He seems awfully sure that just tariffs are good. Brian said, imagine how dumb you have to be to complain about not making enough money to get by. Then you simp for corporations. Strange flex. That is a very strange flex. Thank you, Brian, for the super chat there too. Appreciate it. Let me check my messages too. Make sure I didn't miss any. I hate that I hope you guys know how much this dead time drives me nuts. This dead air. I don't think I missed any. All right, here we go. But I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Let's see. Let's figure out what I got to make sure some of this stuff is still relevant. Yeah, I liked this from Ron Johnson. This was nice to see from a Republican yesterday. This is a Republican. Sorry, MAGA. This is a Republican saying that Democrats are right. So you may want to plug your ears or do as Trump says, close your eyes, close your ears. Don't listen to things that are inconvenient. But here's Ron Johnson. Low volume? What was low volume? My mic is low volume? I'm seeing some people saying that that it's lagging on YouTube. I have no idea. It doesn't show me on my end that we're lagging, so I apologize for that.
I'm somewhat disappointed to hear that exclusions of some of these things are being ruled out at this point in time. They're very specific situations that I think you ought to consider exclusions for, because I don't often agree with the members on the other side of the aisle, but in many cases here today, particularly when they're expressing concern about small businesses in their states, I'm hoping you're very, and I hope you and the president are very sensitive about companies potentially going bankrupt by these actions. Again, we want fair trade, but I hope you recognize, tariffs are double-edged sword. I would argue a somewhat blunt instrument.
Yeah, we're right. That's Ron Johnson. That's Mr. I tried to overturn the election. That's Mr. Election fraud guy. Like he's about as far right as you can get. And he's saying, I hate to agree with Democrats, but they're right. It doesn't seem like anybody is worried about these small businesses. And just ask yourself, like, who in the Trump administration, who's there that is looking out for small businesses? Who's the member of his administration that understands small business? It's not Trump. It's not J.D. Vance. It sure as shit isn't Howard Lutnick. It's not Scott Bessent. It's not Linda McMahon. Who's the person that's in that administration that has Trump's ear that understands small business? That even thinks about it, not even understands, understands the wrong word, thinks about small business, prioritizes small business. People, they chase the money. And that's a thing that like most politicians do. They chase the money. They chase the people who have the most effect on them. And Trump is most affected. Just if you look at influence, let's not pretend that Trump is above influence. If you're a person who thinks Trump can't be influenced, you should go somewhere else for this conversation. Everybody can be influenced, and everybody's influenced a lot of times by our own bias and by the people that surround us. And Trump is surrounded by billionaires who can withstand months, maybe years of economic uncertainty. And the only reason they're willing to go through this amount of time is because they see the payoff for them. What's the payoff for small businesses? Did those businesses that we lost during COVID come back? Or did they get swallowed up by corporations? They got swallowed up. These businesses that we're losing now don't come back. When you go out there and you go, American manufacturing, you're talking about massive corporations coming in and dictating what your wage is going to be, when you're going to work, what your shifts are. That takes away from the American dream. We're killing small business, and Republicans are celebrating that at least after all these small businesses die, we'll have these big corporations. Maybe some corporations run by the Chinese, by the people from India. Maybe Elon Musk will just own like half the economy. But small businesses are dying right now. And for what reason? So that we can bring back bigger corporations. And what will that do? Will that pay down our debt? Nope. Will that make wealth inequality better? Nope. Will that mean you get paid more money? Nope. All it will mean is rich people will get richer. You don't want to work for a fucking corporation like this. You don't want to work for Ford, for GM. For 30 years, they've just been doing everything they can to strip away the benefits and the payment. You remember we had that auto workers strike before the election. Do you remember what they were asking for? Does anybody remember exactly what they were asking for? They were asking for a raise that they had been promised. After the economy collapsed in 2009, and everybody here that was paying taxes during that year, our tax dollars went to pay or to give money to the auto manufacturers, to bail them out. We did it in the forms of not only bailouts, but also subsidies for things like SUVs. So we all have been paying for Ford, GM, Buick, Cadillac, all these companies. We've been paying for their recovery. And as part of that, those same companies said, hey, they went to their workers, and their workers are like, we haven't got a raise in 8 years. And they said, look, the economy just crashed. So here's what we'll do. We'll scratch your back, you scratch ours. We can't give you a raise right now. But if you wait 5 years and we work through this, we will give you a sizable raise. I think it was like a 25% increase in their salary. Just wait 5 years. And then all of a sudden it was 2024 and they still had not received their raise. And the companies just kept saying the same thing. Oh, we can't now, we can't now, we can't now. They took that government handout and they pocketed it. And then they told their employees that we can't pay you more. Times are just too tough. Our margins are too small. And eventually these people, after 15 years, just said, all right, fine, I guess we're striking. And they went on strike. And your side of the aisle demonized them, called them babies. You agreed to work for these wages. No, a lot of them didn't. A lot of them agreed to work there on the promise of increased wages because of the American taxpayer who bailed them out. We do not want more of these corporations. We don't want them to be bailed out. And that's exactly what the fuck will happen. They'll be bailed out. If we go through with this trade war, they'll get a bailout. You won't. Mom and pop shops, people that own small and mid-sized businesses will lose their businesses. They will not be bailed out. But then these massive corporations will be like, well, look, all these companies failed, and we'll go ahead and we'll pick up for it, but we're going to need some help. We're going to need a tax subsidy. We're going to need a tax break from the government because now we have all this. We have to invest. We have to build new buildings. We have to hire more people. So we're going to need some help because we're going to have to invest some of our capital, and we don't do that. We don't invest new capital in building up infrastructure. We don't do things without an immediate return. So federal government, we're going to need a subsidy. We're going to need to be able to write this off. So after you're going to kill all these small and mid-sized businesses, and then we're going to give if Republicans have their way, then they're going to bail out rich people, give them a tax subsidy so they can take over these businesses, pay people shit wages with no stock options, with no retirement, with shitty fucking health insurance, and the oligarchy continues. That's what you guys are fighting for. Let's talk about what the fuck we're fighting for here. You're fighting for corporations. You're fighting for billionaires. And we're fighting for us. And we're fighting for, frankly, you. Whether you like it or not. Everything that you have good in your life right now, thank progressives for it. You like not being forced to work 80 hours a week? Thank the progressives. You like getting paid overtime? Thank the progressives. You like health and you like that your business is at least covers your health insurance? Thank the progressives. Everything good that exists in this country is from progressives. Conservatives just want to live in the past all the time. They don't want to do anything to fix the future. They just want to live in the past. Because you guys look back at a time, you look back at but let's say you're in your 60s and you look back 30 years ago and you think, man, I had this company. I planned on working for this company forever. I had a pension. I had health insurance was affordable. Like my wife didn't have to work. We raised kids. Dude, it was way better back then. We should just go back to then. Yeah, the reason it changed is because conservatives stripped all of that. Conservatives said, don't worry, companies. You guys are people too. You don't have to pay good benefits. You don't have to pay a living wage. We're not going to raise the minimum wage to keep up with inflation. Go ahead, pay your CEO 2,000% more, and go ahead and pay your workers 5% more. That's fine. Free market, right? You look back at times that you think were better, and in some instances they were, and you refuse to you think because progressives like progress that it was progressives' fault. But if you go back and you track the legislation, you want to know why you're not paid more? Track the legislation. Go see which legislation led to your CEO getting a 2,000% raise and you getting a 5% raise. It was a regressive tax. It was a regressive tax policy that allowed that to happen, where we cut taxes for the rich. That's what allowed that to happen. And you blame us. You guys just hate rich people. No, we just don't think that they should get rich at the expense of their workers. We think that everybody deserves some sort of protection. And by the way, for anybody saying like this is just the free market, no, it's fucking not. We have the least free market. You are far more likely to start own a small business and make it work in places like Mexico, in places like Canada, in places like Sweden, in Norway, in the UK, in Spain, in Germany. You are far more likely to be successful in those countries creating your own small business than you are here, because they don't cater to massive corporations. They put barriers in the way of the richest among them from taking the wealth from the middle class. And that's why when you look at the freedom index, they are more free. In places like Sweden and Norway and Scandinavia, their taxes are much higher than ours. And at the end of the month, guess what? They have more money left over. How the fuck does that happen? How is it that they can pay more in taxes and have more money left over at the end of the month? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Maybe it's because it's not just about taxes. Maybe it's because when we allow the free market and these massive corporations to run everything, everything gets more expensive. So while you might not be cutting a check to the government, you're cutting a check to somebody else. And the check that you're cutting to somebody else includes profit, includes money that they want to make just for you writing them a check. That's why we're losing. And you guys want to double down on failed trickle-down economics policies that have gotten us to where we are. Let's look at the debt. You guys love talking about the debt. Let's talk about some charts. Let's look at the national debt by year. And let's see, as we look through all these charts, Republicans, sorry, I'm getting cotton mouth. If you guys are honest, stick around. Let's be honest about where these charts coincide. All right, is this the national debt one? Let's see. Let's do this. Where's this chart? Here's our national debt, starting from 1972. We see where we're at now. Stable, 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 and then all of a sudden this massive increase. 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. Pretty steady increases there, right? Up until 1982. What happened in 1982, guys? Republicans in the chat, what happened? What big policy changes did we see in 82? That was largely when like the Reaganomics went into place. And then whew, and then here we have 98 to 2001. That ends 2001. That's the year we had a surplus, right? Whew. What this chart shows is that we were able to operate with just a small deficit because we taxed people at a higher rate. When we lowered taxes for the rich, debt exploded. Let's look at some other charts here. Let's now look at wealth inequality by year. If we go and look at wealth inequality by year, let's see if I can find a good chart for this. Sometimes it's just articles. It's just, so this one, yeah, I think here it is. All right. Here's the gaps in income between upper income and middle class and lower income households. And this chart here is from 1970. So when we used to tax rich people at an appropriate rate, the share of income from the middle class was 62%. 62% of the income held in America or received in America was the middle class. 29% was we'll call them the rich or the upper income, and then lower income was about 10%. Now, lower incomes stayed about the same, right? So it's gone down to 9. This is up till 2018. But look what happens as we introduce trickle-down economics. As we stop taxing appropriately. Now, even though the middle class makes up a much bigger percentage of the population, we now have less income than the upper income folks, than rich folks. That's trickle-down economics at play. What else should we even do here? What should average pay versus CEO pay by year? Let's do that. See if I can get an image of it. From the let's go to the last 50 years. Yeah, so this is going to basically, let's see, which chart was that? What's wrong with there? This is basically going to show us trickle-down economics. CEO worker pay gap. Here you'll see, wait, let's see. This is CEO to worker compensation ratio. Okay. So the CEO realized compensation versus granted. No, this isn't the one I want. That's not the. That's just CEO pay. That's not going to compare to everybody else. Here we go. This is the one. I think. It's non-equity. There we go. This, whoops. Shit. There we go. All right. So now we look at pay changes here. You're going to look at cumulative percentage change in real annual wages from 79 to 2019. So up here in this dark blue, you're going to see that is the top 1%. Lighter blue, 95 to 95th, 90 to 95th in the light, and then the lightest blue is the bottom 90%. You'll see since 1980, this starts from 79, and then you're going to see trickle-down economics. You see trickle-down economics is introduced about right here. And down here at the bottom, if you can see my cursor, you'll see immediately what happened is the bottom 90% immediately saw a dip in their pay. And immediately the top 1%, and then anybody from 90th percentile on saw an immediate increase. But now watch this gap. Look at this gap. You have the bottom 90% slowly going up. Went up by 26% in 50 years. 90 to 95th went up 51%. 95th to 99th went up 75%. And the top 1%, their wages went up 161%. Why do all of these charts coincide with the introduction of taxing rich people less? As soon as we taxed rich people less, things got worse for everybody but the rich. Every last one of them. How does this happen? How is it that every chart matches this? This isn't like partisan shit. This is how I went from a Mitt Romney conservative Republican to wherever the fuck I am now. I'm not a Democrat. I don't like most of the Democrats. I think most of the people in Congress are also responsible for this. I think Democrats like to talk tough and then they don't do a goddamn thing about it. You can go back to Joe Biden. You can go back to Barack Obama. They didn't really do anything to fix this either. So it's not that I'm a Democrat. It's that I like math and I like data. And data tells me that taxing rich people less based on the promise that they gave. They were the ones that negotiated this deal with Ronald Reagan. These were industry leaders. They came to Ronald Reagan and they said, look at this, man. Look, I understand that like taxing us less, but if you tax us less, or I understand taxing us more, but if you tax us less, the great thing is everybody will get better. It'll get better for everybody. Everybody's going to get richer. Because what we're going to do is that's going to free up investment. So that's all going to trickle down. And the idea was that it would raise at the same rate. Cool idea. Rich people get richer. That means they pay people more. But it's not true. Rich people get richer. And then throughout this time, throughout all these years, the same people who had Ronald Reagan's ear and were saying, cut our taxes, these same people were figuring out other ways to have their taxes cut. Oh, you should give us a tax cut if we buy a boat. You should give us a tax cut if we buy a private jet. You should give us a tax cut for all of our extra homes. You should give us a tax cut if we move our manufacturing into a new city. And they figured out ways just over and over and over again to have the government keep giving them tax cuts to the point now that these people, this top 1%, they're paying like 3% effective rate. And somehow these people up here who have obviously rigged this whole game against you have so many of you sitting here in the chat going, well, if you tax them, then they'll pay us less. They used to pay you more. They paid you a lot more when we taxed them appropriately. They're lying to you and you're afraid of them because they have money. And the reality is you've just got to have some self-esteem. You have to recognize that the reason they're rich and you're not is not because they're brilliant. The reason they're rich and you're not is not because they're so much smarter than you. Most billionaires inherited their wealth. Almost at this point, almost every billionaire that's out there inherited some wealth. And a lot of people are now, because we have so much wealth inequality, people are being born billionaires. If you took Elon has like 13 kids. If you split Elon's wealth between his 13 kids, they're like in the top 20 wealthiest people in the world, all 13 of them. Maybe it was top 30. And they have done nothing. Not one goddamn thing. They just were born. And now they're born as billionaires. And these same people are telling you, no, we can't pay you more. We cannot pay you more. But cut our taxes. Just cut our taxes one more time. And then this time we'll pay you more. Every time we cut their taxes, this gap gets wider. Look what happened. There's 2016-ish. Was it what tax cut and jobs like? It just goes up. The early 90s, we were cutting taxes like crazy. George Bush tax cuts like crazy. The only time we ever have these dips, by the way, are not because we increase their taxes. It's because these people crash the economy. And then, of course, they can live through it. They have so much money, it doesn't affect them. So it crashes, and they're like, it's fine. It crashed in 2000 or 99. I'll make it up by 2007. Crashed in 2008. I'll make it up by 2020. I can live through this, and I'm going to buy up more assets during that time. And it's not even like these people. It's not even the millionaires. It's not even the billionaires. It's the multi-billionaires. They're the ones that withstand. Everybody else's rate is kind of working. It's these people who have unfair advantages. And they're the ones that are telling you, you can't raise our taxes because then we won't pay you. Sad. So, good question, Jerry. If we tax the rich to kingdom come, which I like you saying that, what do you get in your pocket? If you go back to the tax policy that we had before, when the middle class was at its biggest, Jerry, I don't know how old you are, but I would imagine your grandparents lived through this tax. If you're over 40, 30 to 40, your grandparents lived through tax rates when it was 90%. The top marginal tax rate was 90%. And what happened is, the equivalent of that would be $4 million today. So take anybody who makes $4 million a year. You would have, their tax rate would be whatever it is. Let's say, I think, what's the top tax rate right now? 37%? They would be taxed at 37% on their first $4 million. And then every dollar after that, they're taxed at 90%. And what that forces them to do is make a decision. They can circulate that money. They can pay employees more. You might be able to offset. You might give them a tax break if they invest in like a startup. You incentivize them to circulate that money. And that means you'll make more money. What happened when we had a 90% tax rate is all these corporations, using Ford Motor for an example. Actually, I'm going to use Geneva Steel. Geneva Steel was a steel company that was in Utah County where I grew up. And it went out of business in the 90s after we were being undercut by China. After we just allowed ourselves to bring in Chinese steel, we got undercut, and all these steel companies went under. But Geneva Steel, they lived through that. And everybody that worked at Geneva Steel retired with a pension, a really fucking good pension. And they had great benefits. And they had things like my father-in-law and his brothers and sisters. They all went to college for free because Geneva Steel also had a college fund for your children. So these business owners, they were like, they had this decision. They could pay 90% in taxes, or they could invest that in their employees. And they chose, like any business owner would make that choice. I can pay taxes to the government, or I can have happier employees that are going to stay here. So they just had better programs for their employees. And that was the competitive advantage. If the way that they got the best employees was they offered the best benefits. And it created real competition, and there was no exit for them. They couldn't just lie, and they couldn't get together and be like, hey, how about we just all, like, what they've done now is they're like, let's not let anybody unionize. All us rich guys, let's get together. Let's make sure that we squash unions. No more unions. And together, we'll write the policies, and we'll make it so we can't be forced to send that money back down. We'll keep it. And then they kept it, and this is what we have. So when your grandparents retired at 60, and they had a full pension, and they had health benefits the rest of their life, and Social Security was like a drop in the bucket they didn't even really care about. They did that because we had tax incentives for the rich that made them pay people more. And somewhere along the line, we've become this thing like the amount of people in here calling me a pussy. Oh, you little bitch. Why are you complaining all the time? Because the system's stupid. It's fucking stupid. How are you the same people, by the way? Like, you guys will complain about how women's sports are unfair because 8 trans people play women's sports, and you won't shut the fuck up about that forever and ever and ever. That's very important to you guys. It's very fucking important to you that women's sports are fair and don't include trans people. But if the economy's rigged, we're little bitches. Make that make sense. You guys, you complain about everything. Immigrants are coming to steal our jobs. I don't know, be better. If they can steal your job, you must be dog shit at your job, right? Oh, you love the protection then. You love the protection then, don't you? Oh, God, we love that protection. We're not bitches when we say that. We're not bitches when we say somebody's coming from a third world country with no education and they're going to steal our jobs. No, we're not bitches. We're sensible. But when we point, but if you point out that rich people are fucking us over and in a rigged system that they rigged, they wrote their own rules. This is the equivalent of them. This is the equivalent of them taking 160 trips around the monopoly board, collecting all the properties, all the money, and then saying, why are you guys being such bitches about this? I know that every time you land on a property, you have to give me money, but stop being a bitch. Just have more money. Be like me. Have more money. You would never play that game. You would never sit down and play Monopoly with somebody who had almost all the properties. Don't worry, we left Baltic Avenue for you. At some point, if you land on Baltic Avenue and somehow you still have money because we've bled you dry everywhere, maybe you'll be able to buy a property too. You won't get all the properties we have, but Baltic Avenue's there for you. Enjoy it. You guys are the ultimate bitches. You complain about shit that doesn't affect you. You only complain about shit that doesn't affect you. And this is the great game that Republicans play. This is the strategy, and it's been the strategy for decades. Make Republican voters think about everything else but the economy. Distract them with everything. Just distract them with social issues. Distract them with religious issues. Distract them with everything, so that they don't figure out that they're rigging the whole fucking game against you. That's the game they've been playing. I don't even know what the fuck you're arguing at this point in the chat. How many more charts do we have to show you? Name one thing that's gotten better for the middle class since trickle-down economics. I'll wait. Name one thing you can attribute to trickle-down economics that has gotten better since it was introduced. I'll read some comments. A dog formerly known as Cat said, "Ayo, this motherfucker's spitting." Thank you. Where are we at on this? I'll update the gift goal, and then we got about 30 minutes left. We'll see if we can knock it out. Great. Again, I understand economic times are tough right now, and nobody should feel bad if they can't donate or don't wish to. I just have to remind. I do have to. Oh, go ahead, Jen.
I think you might have missed some other.
I'm looking right now. That was the one that was on the top of my feed, so I'll go through your messages.
Yeah, Jay mentioned wrapping up the rest of the gift goal. We got about 27 minutes left. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Amazon, you use your Amazon Prime sub or Twitch. And if you're wondering, please like the stream.
All right. Thanks. Jamar said, the confusing part is there's no plan, and somehow these geniuses are okay with that. Yeah, like, that's the thing. I just think you guys are mad at the wrong people. I really do. Like, I understand that I make fun of MAGA, and I understand that, like, I'm critical of MAGA, and it's okay. I think it's a fair criticism of me to say that, like, I'm too harsh on MAGA. I think that's fair. But I will say this, you guys are wrong at all the wrong people. Or, excuse me, angry at all the wrong people. You should be angry at the people who have rigged our system. And the people that rigged our system are in this cabinet. I don't know what to tell you. The people who want to make $1 off of everything you do, they want to cut off every transaction that you make. Those are the people running our country right now. Those are the people making policy. Why would you want that? Why would you want somebody whose sole incentive is to get as much of the money into their pockets? Why would you trust those people? Right? Like, you want the opposite of that. You want the government is supposed to represent you. They're not representing you. They're representing these rich people who are lying to you and who obviously are just taking all of the wealth. Buzzwords for time before you were alive don't even begin to prove your irrelevant point. If you had your way, you'd all be living off the dole that us actual taxpayers are forced to pay. Yeah, you're just a fucking idiot, Joe Schmo. That's the problem. You're repeating taglines. This is data. Stop repeating taglines. Okay, here's data. That's just tagline data. Us real people who pay taxes. I've paid a lot of money in taxes in my life. A lot of money in taxes in my life. I've had good jobs my whole life. For a lot of that time, I was a sole proprietor and I didn't have a lot of write-offs. So I've paid a lot of taxes and I don't mind paying a lot of taxes. It doesn't bother me. If my life is better and my tax bill's higher, I don't care. But I'm giving you data here and you're like, these talking points are from before your time. How could a data point from 2020 be before my time? I was born during this time period. Right near the beginning of this time period is when I was born. And I was a Republican up until 2017. So I was the guy like repeating the shit you're saying. I was the guy repeating all the same shit. You know why I know what your arguments are before you say them? It's because I was a Republican and you guys haven't changed your arguments. I don't want to hear about like dusty old talking points. There haven't been a lot of people talking like me throughout this time. People are starting to figure it out. That's why you're seeing more and more Democrats being accused of being socialists, and more Democrats are talking about taxing the rich, and more Democrats are talking about universal health care, and more Democrats are talking about getting privatization out of school. It's because the talking points that you guys have are old, and they're dusty, and they're stupid, and nobody buys them anymore. But for a long time, we did. You have the outdated data. You promised... the Republicans promised that if we did trickle-down economics, everybody's wages would rise. Everybody would be better off. And it's not true. It didn't happen. The poor got a little bit poorer, and everybody else just watched this wealth inequality explode. I'm sorry that you still believe a lie 45 years later, and you have too much pride to admit it, but like you're going to lose this argument. Nobody ever comes up in debates that walks away and says, oh, yeah, no, we shouldn't do universal health care. I think the reason that most of you are afraid to debate is I think that you actually know that I'm right. And I'm not right because I'm like some sort of genius. I'm right just because I can look at simple data and I'm not tied to a political party. I'm not tied to an ideology. So you look at this data, but you're tied to an ideology that tells me this data should not exist. And so you do what Trump told you to do. You close your eyes. Purple Kitty says, who run this mother? Girls. Love you, brother. Allie said, my grifter donation for schooling these inbred cowardly mudveins. Thank you very much for that. We don't have enough doctors. We have more than enough doctors. See, you guys, the real problem we have in this country is that it is really easy to scare conservatives. They're the most scared people in the world. You know who has the longest has the longest wait times to see a doctor in the world? Do you guys know? It's Canada. And now you'd be like, see? You know who's number 2? Us. We're number 2. Every country below us has universal health care. So it can't be universal health care that's the problem, right? Because every country except for Canada has lower wait times. So what is it? Canada has a lack of doctors. And Canada is the amount of doctors now going to Canada is increasing. Because it used to be that like our competitive advantage was doctors got paid here more. But now with the rising costs, it doesn't actually make sense to stay here in America and be a doctor if you don't want to. You can go to Canada, you can go to Mexico, you can go to other places, and the cost of living is less, so you don't mind making a little bit less. Your quality of life is the same. So yeah, so explain that. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough manufacturing either, but you guys are cool bringing manufacturing. You're here changing you're here saying like, let's change our whole structure. Yeah, if there is more need for a doctor, guess what? We're going to have more doctors. That's how it works. And we would. You want to talk about stimulating our economy? To talk about a bunch of well-paid doctors. Imagine if the 30 million people right now that don't have health care suddenly have health care and they can go see a doctor for regular checkups. We would have an immediate need for more doctors. And who's not going to want to be a doctor? It's a good gig. You make a lot of money. It's a good gig. You help people. You make a lot of money. That would stimulate our need for doctors. The problem that we have right now with doctors is that if you go to medical school, it's too expensive. So it doesn't make a great deal of sense. Like I have a friend who's a what do you call it? It's what is the thing? It's a PA. He went to PA school and it was really fucking expensive. But what he did when he got out of PA school is he moved to rural New Mexico because that city desperately needs doctors and nobody wants to work there because it's not cost effective. So the government has to subsidize him going to rural New Mexico, and they pay off his student loans as long as he stays there for like 10 years. So the problem we have right now is that college is too expensive to justify the wages. And college is too expensive because we allowed the privatization of things like student loans, and we allowed the privatization of schools, and these schools now run as for-profit. So fix our education system to make it like everybody else's, where college is affordable. Don't allow private industry to be involved in our schools, which artificially raises the cost. Do what everybody else did. Let's copy a system that's better than ours. Let's fix schools and let's do universal health care. That's great for our economy. It's great for you. More money in your pocket at the end of every year that you can go spend on whatever the fuck you want. But you've been told that that's socialism. Socialism is evil. Denmark isn't real. You're welcome, rural New Mexico. That's socialism. Yeah, I mean, the thing, this happens all over the place. You talk about indigenous tribes on reservation land. They often have to incentivize people to come be doctors there. So they have to do things like paying off student loans. This happens all over the country. We use socialism as a way to bail out capitalism all the time, while Republicans rail on capitalism. You know why farming exists in this country? Socialism. Most farmers don't exist without government subsidies. You know why Tesla exists? Socialism. You know why these solar companies exist? Socialism. If you're gonna simply dumb down socialism into government paying for programs, then yeah. Everything we do, like capitalism is so shitty that we have to subsidize it with government money. And you guys won't let it fail. You keep keep bringing in billionaires like, oh, let's give these guys some more money. Then they'll fix it. They promised this time if they give us a tax cut, this time we'll fix it. 47 years now we've been listening to this shit and it's not fixed. I think it's time to go in a different direction. And I think that one thing that's beneficial for all of us is that Donald Trump is really going to fuck this up. And I think we're going to have a mandate to do a lot of this. Amber said, you know when paydays are? By looking at my gifts. Thank you. All right, let's do that. What do we got? 15 more minutes. Let's see what we got here. No, we didn't do great. More Americans died during 45 than all previous. Yeah. I like every once in a while just seeing a fuck text. It's nice to see that in there. All right, I'm going to get to RFK and then we'll get out of here. First of all, this was the best thing I've seen on the internet in a long time. This is a conversation between Elon Musk and RFK. I don't know who these guys are. I know this guy's been on Kill Tony. This was unbelievable.
Really wonderful to have you here today, Elon, and have an opportunity to talk to you.
It's true. Obviously. RFK, maybe it's okay if I call me up. LOL. I mean, it's like.
LOL.
That was made more sense than anything I've ever heard Elon Musk say, actually. So RFK is backtracking, and he's got MAGA pissed off. Maha pissed off. Here's what RFK said yesterday. So there's something like just under 600, I think, measles cases currently nationwide, and 500 of them are in Texas, most of them in heavily unvaccinated areas. Here's RFK now walking back his anti-vax stance, and now the Mahas are upset with him.
It's one thing to say the measles vaccine is the best way of preventing spread, but it's another thing to then say, and therefore, we suggest that you get the measles vaccine.
Thanks, Jessica.
We encourage people to get the measles vaccine.
Okay, so I think that's actually the next step, and that's news as far as I'm concerned, that you're saying that. what's the position philosophically of the federal government in terms of public
The
health?
federal government's position, my position is people should get the measles vaccine, but the government should not be mandating.
Understand,
those.
but
I've always said during my campaign and every public statement I've made, I'm not going to take people's vaccines away from them. What I'm going to do is make sure that we have good science so that people can make an informed choice.
I'm wondering what good science changed, because he went from you shouldn't get the measles vaccine to you should get the measles vaccine now that he's in charge. So I'm guessing that like somebody must have shown him some good science, and good for him for changing his mind, honestly. Good for RFK for changing his mind. And if you guys trusted RFK on vaccines, and now because he changed his mind, you don't trust him, then that just tells me that the only reason you liked him is because he said what you said. And it's really not about trust. It's just about hearing things that make you feel good, confirmation bias. Otherwise, explain to me how this guy who has is repeatedly, at the very least, suggested that these vaccines cause autism and that they cause more death than lives saved. Explain that. Explain how just a year or two ago he was talking about the benefits of actually, if you get measles, you create antibodies, and that's better protection than a vaccine. And now here he is, surrounded by scientists, and he's like, "Man, get the vaccine. You should get it. I'm not going to mandate it, but you should get it." Why? Because he's seeing people dying, and he's seeing it's overwhelming. The people that are dying are unvaccinated, and many of them children. He did this on the heels of him going. He went down to Texas, to Gaines County, Texas, which is a place where they've had the massive measles outbreak. And an anti-vax family, the Hildebrand family, lost their 8-year-old daughter Daisy. He said, "I got to know the family of 6-year-old Kaylee Fair after she passed away in February. I also developed bonds and deep affection for other members of this community during that difficult time. My intention was to come down here quietly to console the families and to be with the community in their moment of grief." Now, this is a community that is grieving because of the loss of a child. And this is a man who says he was here to console the families and be with the community. He has a close connection with them. Why this community? Because other people have died across the country and he has not gone to visit them. Why this community? Because this is a community that loves RFK, that took him at his word when they said, "Oh, protect your children, don't get them vaccinated." So now he's going down to grieve with them, because what else? Like, what else is he going to do? These are his people. Said, "I'm also here to support Texas health officials and learn how our HHS agencies can be a better partner with them to control the measles outbreak, which as of today, there are 642 cases of measles across 22 states. 499 of them are in Texas. How do you think that happens? Because they've been listening. These MAGA folks, you listen to lies all the time, and you're easily convinced. And I think that this, honestly, and no disrespect to anybody who's Christian here, but I do think it boils back down to having a belief in a higher power who controls things. If you believe that everything is on God's terms, then why the hell would you need a vaccine? If you believe God is in control of everything, then you don't need to vaccinate. So you're already predisclosed to is that the right word? Predispositioned to believe that things aren't necessary because God is in control. I do think that as somebody who is a former Christian and as Christians that are here, you need to be aware of that. You need to be aware that people will prey on your beliefs that God is in control. And they will deliver messages that are catered to people like you on purpose. And in this case, RFK becoming an anti-vaxxer has made him millions of dollars and got him a really, really important position. He's mostly been making his money off of being a vaccine skeptic, and now people are dying, and he's got to face that. In early March, he said, "I deployed a CDC team to bolster local and state capacity for response across multiple Texas regions, supply pharmacies and Texas-run clinics with needed MMR vaccines, the ones that they've all been claiming cause autism, and other medicines and medical supplies, work with local schools and healthcare facilities to support contact investigations." Oh, they're tracking it. Uh-oh. That was the thing you guys thought was big government, right? Tracking it. So seeing where the outbreak started. We're going to make sure that these are mandatory reports. You need to tell us what you have. And by the way, now it's going to be like if somebody dies in a car crash and they have measles, they're going to be like, yeah, see, they said that they died of measles, but really they died in a car crash. We've played this game before, or apparently we're playing it again. Since that time, the growth rates for new cases and hospitalizations have flattened. So once we convince people to get immunized and stop being anti-vax, it's flattened. I've spoken to Governor Abbott, and I've offered HHS's continued support. At his request, we have redeployed CDC teams to Texas. We will continue to follow the Texas's lead and to offer similar resources to other affected jurisdictions. Oh, that evil CDC. They were so evil before. Now RFK has to bring them in to save the day. Dog, formerly known as Cat, says there's hope. Elon is pressuring Boeing to speed up the production of the new Air Force One. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. I was worried our economy was in the tank, but at least Elon now is pressuring Boeing to develop Air Force One more quickly. This is interesting. So one of the vaccines that has been a miracle is the HPV vaccine. It's one that these very same people are against. This is the number of deaths caused from cervical cancer by year, and you're showing a decline in cervical cancer deaths from 2016 to 2021 because the HPV vaccine has been linked to reducing cervical cancer. So less people are dying now because of a vaccine that a bunch of people said you shouldn't take. You guys, you just get lied to every day. Every day, somebody in this administration wakes up and goes, "You know what I think I'm going to do today? I think I'm going to lie. I think I'm going to lie to these people. Why? Because it makes me money. You know what has skyrocketed since the big anti-vax movement is people making money off of bullshit supplements. That's skyrocketed. These supplement makers are making a fortune. Christy says, "Fuck Donald Trump." I think that's fair. I think that's very, very fair today and every day. I'll move on here. I wanted to show you the comment section though. So RFK's comment section is tough. Let's see, where is? Yeah, is this it? Yeah, here we go. All right, so after RFK says you need to get the MMR vaccine, here's what his comment section starts looking like. "I'm sorry, but we voted for challenging the medical establishment, not parroting it. No amount of wealth will enable you to erase the public shame of being a sellout. The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. You really make a great poster boy for Big Pharma. So much for Maha." These non-scientists, now they're like, "We don't like that you like data." Now he's getting crushed. You guys will turn on anybody in an instant. You trusted him. You're like, he's going to get to the truth of things. What you meant is he's going to keep saying the dumb shit we're saying. They used you to get elected, and now they're turning on you. That's what this movement does. That's what grifters like Robert F. Kennedy do. That's what grifters like Trump do. They use you for your vote, and then they completely abandon you, which is why nobody in this chat has seen any benefit to the Trump administration so far. And you won't. It will not benefit you. Ian Harper, "Dear Secretary Kennedy, you have pulled the rug from beneath our feet. What has happened?" Harry Fisher, "I'm writing you as a paramedic and father with rage and disgust. I never thought I'd direct at you. How dare you? Do you have a randomized controlled trial with audible data to support this statement, please? Asking for 2 billion friends." Yeah, he does. Tons of them. But the problem is that RFK used those same randomized controlled trials and discredited them, and now he's accepting them. It's almost like maybe he got around people who understood the science, and they had to explain it to him. And he's like, fuck. Oh, there were randomized controlled trials? Damn, dude. Well, I guess you better get vaccinated, and then all these people get pissed. People get mad when you lie to them. People get mad when you use and abuse them. These people have been used and abused. And their opinion is dumb. But what did you think was going to happen? What do you think? You said you thought you were going to say like to all these vaccine skeptics who like some of them have built their entire brand on this. It's what they do. It's how they make money. They're just vaccine skeptics. That's House and Habit. That's why House and Habit is reporting at the White House right now. She's in the White House press pool because she was a gossip journalist who became an anti-vaxxer, changed her whole brand to be anti-vax, became friends with RFK Jr., and now he got her a cushy spot as a member of the White House press pool. It'd be interesting to see what her stories look like today. I haven't seen. Anybody have some, I can look. Let's see. I'll look here in a minute. Actually, I'll look in a minute. Let me get these. Now in Louisiana, we got whooping cough. When was the last time you heard about whooping cough? Whooping cough has taken the lives of 2 infants in Louisiana. Remember, these are the folks that care about children. They're very worried about the lives of children. Whooping cough is a highly contagious disease that is preventable with a safe and effective vaccine. This is U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. No child in Louisiana should die from a vaccine-preventable disease. Please protect your child with a vaccine. Just my opinion. My baby did not receive the whooping cough vax. It was the 80s, and I was told that she was allergic to it. She's a mother to my 2 precious grandchildren now. To 2 of my precious grandchildren. She lived. Oh, well, there you go. You're a pharma whore. Shame on you for betraying your Hippocratic oath and inducing harm to your patients and public through these type of policies. The truth will prevail. 2 kids died. He's like, maybe you should do the one thing we know that prevents these children dying. Fuck you! You want children to die? Remember that time you voted to confirm a lifelong anti-vaxxer at HHS? Neil Stone's got it there. Were they American? Were they American children? The immigrants have caused this and also could be survived as many in the past have survived it, including my mother. Stop fear-mongering to try to coerce Maha moms to get kids vaccinated. They're begging you to keep your kids alive, and it's pissing you off, MAGA. That's a sad state of affairs that we're in right now. Let's see. Did I miss any? Let me check with Jen real quick. All right, we'll shut it down. I appreciate you guys. I know we ask for a lot for the gift donations, and some days we make it, some days we don't. Yeah, Jen, I think we're up to date there. I think we're up there. Did I miss any? I didn't miss Christie's. All right. Where was this? There was one more. Here it is. In that same interview, here is RFK showing he doesn't know what's going on. And I think that this is the case for everybody working in the Trump administration, especially when dealing with Doge. The problem with Doge is that Doge took liberties to cut things, and nobody knew what they were cutting, including RFK. Watch RFK here admit that he doesn't know what funding has been cut and hasn't been cut. He didn't approve it. He didn't go through it. He doesn't even have a team that went through it. He's very unaware about what money is going where. I'm not sure what he's doing. I'm not sure what his job is. Apparently his job is to just let Elon and the Doge boys do whatever they want.
Since his appointment in February, Kennedy has facilitated sweeping cuts for programs and staffers alike. You proposed more than $11 billion in cuts to local and state programs addressing things like infectious disease, mental health, addiction, and childhood vaccination. Did you personally approve those cuts?
I'm not familiar with those cuts. We'd have to go. We'd have to go.
There's like more than 50 pages of cuts that I actually went through.
The cuts were mainly.
I like that the reporter went through the cuts, but not RFK.
Yeah, cuts, which the president.
There were a lot, but I'll give you, for example, about $750,000 of a University of Michigan grant into adolescent diabetes was cut. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, and that's
since his appointment.
And there's a guy like childhood epidemic, childhood obesity, children's health. This is the guy. He doesn't even know. When they cut grants that can help children, doesn't even know about it. No clue. This is the most incompetent government I've ever seen in my life. They have no coherent strategy. They have no coherent messaging, and they don't appear to know what they're doing. Seeking for Hope said, it was great watching you work out in real time what the fuck was going on. I do that at least twice a day, every day. It's nice to know that you really are one of us. Yeah, thank you. That hit me. It was a weird show today. It was a weird thing to do to spend, I'm up at like 5, so I'm doing some work last night for a couple hours. It takes about 6 hours or so to get together at least like roughly what the show is going to be. And when you build out the show on like the effects of tariffs, and then 5 minutes into the show, the guy who promised that he wasn't ever going to back down, it is a change. But that's the point, though. I think that's a good point. Like, we're all dealing with this every day. We're all dealing with like the constant state of fear. And that's what he loves. There's a book called State of Fear. It was written by Michael Crichton. I'm not necessarily going to recommend the book. When I was in school at Utah Valley State College, before it was a university, I studied political science, and I was a TA for this guy who was a judge. This book, he made us read a book called State of Fear that Michael Crichton wrote. And basically the book, the idea of the book is just showing how people like use fear to get you to support certain things. And the book was about how they use fear to convince you that climate change is real, which, looking back, the book itself was wrong on the science. But the lesson that I learned is that people in a state of fear will go along with things. When people are fearful and unsure, most people aren't going to go do research. Most people are just going to gravitate to somebody that they can trust. And Trump gives them that opportunity. Trump has the appearance and the confidence of somebody who always knows what's going on. And so I actually kind of understand why people are like, okay, that guy, he seems to know what's going on. He seems completely unfazed by this. Oh, and by the way, he's rich. And look at all the things that he's lived through. Look at all the bankruptcies that he's lived through, lawsuits that he's lived through. And so they're like, you know what, I'm going to side with that guy because that guy seems to make it out on top. And I actually get that. If I was betting on somebody to come out of this unscathed, I would bet most of my money on Trump. I do think Trump is going to come out of this unscathed. But you're all going to pay the price. We're all going to pay the price. He will always choose himself first, and that's why he always comes out on top. It's a great, it's great for you as an individual. If you legitimately can live your life not caring that you fucked people over, fine. You're probably going to be very wealthy. But that type of selfish behavior doesn't work for a collection of people, specifically 330 million people. We can't all win by letting people, people have to suffer in order for Trump to win. That is his ideology. That is his strategy. That is who he has always been. Donald Trump views everything as a zero-sum game. He doesn't win unless you lose. There is no win-win. When is the last time Donald Trump ever presented something that was win-win? Even these tariffs he's talking about, he's not talking about a win-win scenario with these other countries. He's talking about a I win scenario. And he says we, so you guys go along with it. But I promise, no data backs this up. I promise you. None of you benefited from his first term. None of you benefited in any way that wasn't already going to happen. If you say your wages went up, that's not because of the tax cuts. Because statistically, that didn't drive up wages. They just kind of went on with it. Like we were already seeing wages grow. You didn't get wealthier compared to the 1% because we know statistically, we don't get better under Trump. Just rich people get a lot better. And that's who he surrounds himself with now. A bunch of rich people who have made their fortunes being selfish. Howard Lutnick shorts the American economy. Howard Lutnick shorts the American economy all the time. He bets against America all the time. That's one of the things he's been most successful with, is betting against the American public. RFK has made a fortune suing the United States government. Linda McMahon, the education secretary, made a fortune off of paying slave labor, child labor, and covering up child sexual abuse so that they didn't get sued. There's a new law that these guys are pushing. It's backed a little bit of money from these tech billionaires, but there's a new law going into that they're trying to pass in California that says, even if you can prove that an oil company created a climate disaster, you cannot sue them. And they're running commercials and ads all over the state of California saying Prop 222 or HR 222 could raise gas prices, could raise energy prices. We have people spending money and Republicans lining up behind them to say, hey guys, We can't sue oil companies that harm us because they will pass that along to the consumers, which means oil companies are free to harm us. They are free to destroy our environment because we're worried about gas prices. What we could do is we could write a law that says if you're an oil company and you get sued for causing harm, you cannot retaliate by raising prices. You cannot pass that on to the American consumer. We could write a law like that, but why don't we? Because the gas lobby's in everybody's pockets. We are completely run by a small fraction of people in this country. And the reason they didn't get super wealthy because they were looking out for everybody else. They got super wealthy because they only look out for themselves. And why would you expect that they would change now? Why would you expect that now all of a sudden we've got enough wealth, so now we're gonna go now we're gonna do things for you? I love you. Stop asking. Said 4 people who give it to God. Who give it to God. Did you ever think God gave man the capacity to create the vaccines? I don't know if they did. Sully said, "What's better than roses on a piano? Tulips on your organ." Thank you, Sully. I got that one. Frankie said, "Yippee." Charles said, "For the gift goal." I appreciate it, my friend. Let me read a couple more, and then we'll probably get out of here. Let's see. Suzanne said, "Thanks for keeping us informed in these crazy times." Thanks for being with me, guys. It does. It makes my life a lot better that I can come on and rant and talk to you guys. Amber says, "Merck makes vaccines and ivermectin." Yeah, they're on both sides of it. Good point. Kay said, actually, I think I read that one. It was great. Oh yeah, I did. I did that one. Hey, Jen.
Okay, we got Timothy said Trump is like an episode of Pinky and the Brain. I liked Pinky and the Brain.
I don't remember why. I don't remember what that is. Why is Trump like an episode of
like a little short stubbier mouse and then the like bigger goofy looking mice? It's like, what are we gonna do today? Brain, same thing we do every day. Pinky, try to take over the world.
I guess I don't remember. I didn't have cable growing up.
Was that a cable you don't show? Remember a lot of it.
I didn't have cable. I didn't have cable. Like as a kid, I watched. The only cartoons I ever remember were like Magic School Bus, Arthur. I want to say, I think maybe I watched Doug at my friend's house. I don't even think it was Doug. I think it was like, Magic School Bus and Arthur. That's all I really watched. And Ninja Turtles.
Here, I'll just show you a little screenshot of what they look like. It was like part of the Animaniacs cartoon. It was a funny cartoon.
I should watch it. I know who Pinky and the Brain are. I just don't remember the show. Like, I think, was that Nickelodeon or something?
I don't remember which one. CW? I don't know. I don't remember. So.
What's the over-under on if we ever see Biden do an interview again? Probably. I'm sure he'll do it. I'm guessing he'll do an interview. I know. If I were him, I would sit back though right now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I remember. I know I had some Pinky and the Brain toys. I've definitely seen it, but I wasn't an avid watcher. The only time I could ever watch cartoons was when I went to my friend Ryan's house. They had cable. And whenever I went over there, it was interesting because like we had very different lives. Their family was an inside family. My family was an outside family. So he always wanted to do outside things, and I always wanted to do inside things.
What's an inside-outside family?
Like they played. Like I didn't have video games growing up, so they had Sega. I think he had a Sega Genesis and a Nintendo, and then Nintendo 64. They had all the movies. They had cable, and then but I didn't. I had outside. We weren't even allowed inside. Like when the day started, at some point my mom was just like, "Go outside, come back for dinner." And then we do that. Thank you, Benny. Go watch some Saturday morning cartoons on YouTube and make up for only having PBS and local. Working. I'll do it. I'll do it on a flight someday that I intend on going on. All right, Jen, did I miss any other comments?
I don't think so. I think that's all of them. So.
Okay. Any last words from you?
No, that's it.
All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning and most weekday mornings, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here on Twitch and YouTube. Tomorrow's my last day of the week. I won't be here Friday, and I won't be here Monday. So I will miss you Friday and Monday. if there's a lot to cover on Monday, I may do an evening show on Monday. I get back on Monday, so it's possible that we have an evening show on Monday. With that being said, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and Twitch and turn on your notifications. It's hard to get the message out that we're going to go live. So if there's a lot to cover on Monday, I'll come back Monday night and do a show. But most likely Friday and Monday, I will not be here. In the meantime, go support other creators. Go support small, large creators, people who are doing good work, and take care of yourselves this weekend. Thank you guys for all your continued support. I love seeing the channel grow. I love seeing new people here every day. And MAGA, one of these days, you guys are going to get some courage, and we're not going to go through episode after episode with you sitting in the comments with no courage. I might not come up if I was you right now either, though. There's not a lot for you to defend. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.